Chapter 47. The battle at the Divine Armament Tower naturally couldn't be hidden from the true ruler of the Lorraine Kingdom. At this time, in the royal court of the Lorraine Kingdom, the current Emperor Luo Jiuzhou, whose cultivation had reached the late stage of the awakening realm, was holding a piece of information and handing it to the three royal ancestors in front of him with a look of surprise. Good news, good news. A rank 3 divine armament has appeared in our Lorraine Kingdom. This is a great opportunity for the Lorraine Kingdom. While the three ancestors were flipping through the information, Luo Jiuzhou couldn't wait to ask, Ancestor Yunxiao, Ancestor Tianming, Ancestor Yoha, this matter can only be solved by the three of you. A rank 3 divine armament has appeared in our Lorraine Kingdom. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Even if this person has some background, as long as we do it secretly, we may be able to take this rank 3 divine armament for ourselves. Rank 3 divine armament. The three royal ancestors looked at each other and saw the surprise in each other's eyes. Yes, a rank 3 divine armament. Although this Chou Tsing-hui has Nayland Fei behind him, even if she really pursues the matter, our Lorraine royal family may not be afraid of her. Wait, who are you talking about? Nayland Fei? Hunyuan Heaven Sect's true disciple Nayland Fei? Before Luo Jiuzhou finished speaking, he was immediately interrupted by Ancestor Yunxiao. That's right, it's Nayland Fei. Although Nayland Fei has the Nayland family behind her, the Nayland family's influence is far away in the Eastern Cloud. It's so far away from our Lorraine Kingdom. As long as we act quickly and muddy the waters without leaving any traces behind, this rank 3 divine weapon will already be in the hands of the Lorraine royal family by the time they react. No. Ancestor Yunxiao hurriedly said. Damn it, Jiuzhou, your third son actually had a conflict with Chou Tsing-hui? Ancestor Tianming's face was also very ugly after reading the information. Luo Jiuzhou couldn't help but be puzzled by the two ancestors' expressions. Yes, what's wrong, ancestors? This Chou Tsing-hui has Nayland Fei behind him. We're in big trouble. Nayland Fei, so what? Although she's a true disciple of the Hunyuan Heaven Sect, it's not like we're directly offending her by dealing with Chou Tsing-hui. If she dares to come to our Luo Lin Kingdom and act presumptuously, we might be able to fight back with reason. That's a stage 3 divine weapon we're talking about. Offending a true disciple for a stage 3 divine weapon shouldn't be a big deal, right? Nothing much? There's something you don't know. Patriarch Tianming looked at Luo Jiuzhou with a solemn expression and said in disbelief, 2 days ago, news came from the Hunyuan Heaven Sect that Nayland Fei, who began closed-door cultivation 3 months ago, finally came out 10 days ago. Her cultivation has reached the 3rd stage of the longevity stage, and she was personally received by the Hunyuan Heaven Sect's sect master and was rewarded with a grade 4 divine weapon. Level 4 divine weapon? Luo Jiuzhou suddenly raised his voice, and his eyes were full of shock. Yes, it's a grade 4 divine weapon. Such a treasure could be used as the most precious treasure of the Nayland family. With this grade 4 divine weapon, even if Nayland Fei had just reached the 3rd stage of the longevity stage, she would have the combat strength of an experienced expert of the Gangqi realm. Ancestor Tianming's words were full of surprises. Moreover, this is nothing. Don't forget one thing. Although Nayland Fei has cultivated to the 3rd level of the longevity realm and condensed her Gangqi, she is only 36 years old. She still has 64 years to go before the 100-year lifespan of a successor disciple. If she can make further progress during this period and become a peak master, Luo Jiuzhou's heart trembled violently. A peak master was an invincible figure who could establish a force. If they wanted to, it would be easy for them to establish a kingdom similar to the Lorraine Kingdom. Back then, the Luo clan was in such a good position because of the birth of a peak master. However, following the accidental death of that ancestor, the Luo clan had deteriorated with each generation. Until now, they had been completely excluded from the core circle of the Hunyuan Heaven Sect. Who knew how long they would be able to sit on the throne of the Lorraine Kingdom? If they offended a true disciple with limitless potential who even had hopes of becoming a peak master in the future. Thinking of this terrible consequence, Luo Jiuzhou trembled all over. Even if Nalan Fei hasn't broken through to the Qi cultivation stage and has the support of the Nalan family, we don't dare to offend her easily, let alone now that she has stepped into the third stage of the longevity stage. Nalan Fei values friendship very much. Half a year ago, because of Cho Tsing-hui, she didn't hesitate to fight with an elder until the end. That elder was so embarrassed that he was covered in dirt. It can be seen that she values Cho Tsing-hui a lot. Even if Cho Tsing-hui disappeared without a trace, she still sent her maid to stay in the Lorraine kingdom to search for him day and night. If we really do something to Cho Tsing-hui, it will definitely arouse the wrath of Nalan Fei, the true disciple at the peak of her power. Luo Jiuzhou was so shocked by the potential of a strong man of the third order of longevity who was less than 40 years old that he broke out in a cold sweat. His greed for the third order magic weapon was thrown out of his mind, and he quickly responded, "I will send someone to protect him personally. I will not let him have any accident in our Lorraine kingdom." "You can't send someone. Go there yourself." Ancestor Nether River, who had been silent all this time, suddenly said, "What?" Luo Jiuzhou was a little confused. However, Ancestor Tian Ming seemed to think of something and suddenly said, "Yes, we have neglected this point. Not only will we be tempted by the third stage magic weapon, but other forces will also not turn a blind eye to it. If we don't take a good attitude, once something happens to Cho Tsing-hui, Nalan Fei will very likely vent her anger on us, especially your third son who has just had a conflict with Cho Tsing-hui. Jiuzhou, you have to do this in person. Not only do you have to do it, but you have to do it beautifully. Nalan Fei can't find any fault with it and Cho Tsing-hui will be satisfied. And that third son of yours." Ancestor Yun Shao also said with a trace of coldness in his eyes, "A person who has cultivated Qi into Gang Qi and has a fourth stage magic weapon is more than enough to destroy the Lorraine royal family. Think about the consequences if something happens to Cho Tsing-hui in the hands of your third son. What is the point of keeping such an ignorant son who wants to destroy the Lorraine royal family? My third son. He has the backing of the 10,000 Swords Mountain." Luo Jiuzhou smiled bitterly. "The 10,000 Swords Mountain? So what if it's the 10,000 Swords Mountain? If he angers Nalan Fei, who is currently at the peak of her power, how difficult would it be for her to destroy the 10,000 Swords Mountain? However, for the sake of the 10,000 Swords Mountain, he can be spared from death, but he can't escape punishment. Deal with him as you see fit. If you can't manage the Lorraine kingdom well, I'll let others do it. Your brothers who are in charge of a region may not be inferior to you in terms of ability." Hearing this, Luo Jiuzhou's heart trembled. He hurriedly promised loudly, "Yes, I'll do it right away. I'll definitely give the ancestors a satisfactory explanation." Chapter 48. He actually admitted defeat. Upstairs, Luo Tiancheng couldn't help but laugh as he watched the third prince indifferently allowing Tsing Hui's group to leave. What else can he do? Does he dare to send Wang Jianxian to deal with Shuo Qingshu? Wang Jianxian is the most treasured disciple of Myriad Swords Peak and has been called the most outstanding figure in the past century. Having such a disciple serving in the third prince's residence is more symbolic than practical. If third brother really dares to send Wang Jianxian to fight Shuo Qingshu, he can only wait for Myriad Swords Peak to give up their support. Luo Hechuan said with a smile. "There's no other way." Who told Cho Tsing-hui to have a third-level divine weapon? Princess Qing Luan said with some envy. Third-level divine weapon. If this third-level divine weapon could be mine. 10th Prince Luo Jianglu was moved. However, his extravagant words were interrupted by the first Prince Luo Tiancheng without hesitation. "Don't even think about it. With your abilities, you won't be able to protect a level 3 divine weapon. The best outcome is to offer it to father in exchange for a reward." Luo Jiangliu's face was faintly red. Obviously, he was choked by Luo Tiancheng's words. But Luo Tiancheng was powerful and he didn't really have a third-level divine weapon, so he didn't dare to refute. Luo Hechuan watched Qing Su's figure disappear into the street and muttered to himself, putting aside whether or not Shuo Qingshu can keep this third-level divine weapon, he was able to fight against the awakening stage of the longevity stage when he was in the blood-changing stage. Moreover, he is suspected to have comprehended sword will. Once he enters the awakening stage, his future will be limitless. What a pity! I couldn't take advantage of the third prince's oppression to help him in his hour of need and befriend him. Princess Qingluan looked at the regretful Luo Hechuan and whispered, compared to the other princes, we already have a lot of advantages. Young Master Cho Tsinghui wanted the information of the Demon Hunters Union, so I sent it to him early in the morning. It can be considered a good karma. If we have a chance to meet again in the future, with this favor, we won't have no way to meet. Luo Hechuan's eyes lit up when he heard this. Sister Qingluan, you've done well. I'll have to trouble you to follow up on this matter. If Zhuo Qingshu ever returns to the Lorraine Kingdom, we must treat him well. Rest assured, brother, I understand. Damn. In a carriage not far from the Ing Garden, the third prince, Luo Tianying, who was originally full of confidence that he could direct a good show to let people see how strong he was now full of anger, unwillingness, and grievance. He had announced that he wanted to deal with Cho Tsinghui in a high-profile manner. He originally wanted to make an example out of Cho Tsinghui, but he didn't expect that in the end, not only did he fail, but he also lost a handful of rice. Not only did he lose face, but he also lost 4 of his 8 guests. Including the Sword Rain scholar who was killed by Tsinghui yesterday, there were 5 of them. The good situation could be said to have been destroyed by Tsinghui alone. If curses could kill, he would have already turned Tsinghui into ashes. Alright, don't be so angry. In the carriage, Wang Jianxian, who was dressed in white and looked very elegant, sat cross-legged. His eyes flashed. This matter may not be completely a bad thing. This is not a bad thing? 5 of my 8 guests died, and almost all of us were wiped out. This is not a bad thing? Not to mention the eldest and the 12th, even the 4th, 6th, and 10th brothers have the right to behave atrociously on my head. Luo Tianying was furious. Calm down. There may be a chance for a turnaround. Zhuo Qingshu should never have revealed the existence of his rank 3 divine weapon. It would have been fine if he had only been using it in secret, but now that we have found out about it, our Myriad Sword's Peak will never allow a rank 3 divine weapon to wander about in the outside world. Wang Jinshuan's words stunned Luo Tianying. Then, as if he had thought of something, his eyes lit up. You plan to ask the Grand Elder of the 10,000 Swords Mountain to make a move? That's right. Wang Jianxian nodded and raised his voice a little. My 10,000 Swords Mountain's combined power is actually not much inferior to the Lorraine royal family. However, because the Hunyuan Heaven sect is not related to us and we do not have a sect protecting treasure, we have always been suppressed by the royal family. Now that Cho Tsinghui has a rank 3 divine weapon, this is a heaven-sent opportunity for our 10,000 Swords Mountain. As long as I send the news back to the sect, our Grand Elder will definitely personally take action. When the time comes, won't killing Cho Tsinghui be a piece of cake for us? Luo Tianying immediately grew excited at Wang Jianshuan's words. Yes. With the Grand Elder of the 10,000 Swords Mountain taking action, that little bastard will die even if he has a rank 3 divine weapon. Why aren't you sending a message to the elders? If you're too late, we'll miss out on the rank 3 divine weapon. Wang Jianxian glanced at Luo Tianying. If not for his relationship with the 10,000 Swords Mountain, such an arrogant person would not be worthy of their support. If they went now, wouldn't they be telling the world that the 10,000 Swords Mountain was behind this? If Nayland Fei and the family behind Nayland Fei pursued the matter, how could the 10,000 Swords Mountain bear the consequences? They had to muddy the waters first before the 10,000 Swords Mountain could make a move. At the very least, they had to use the Lorraine royal family as a shield. Alright, the 10,000 Swords Mountain has its own plans. When Cho Tsinghui and the rest leave the city, immediately go see your father and tell him that Cho Tsinghui has a rank 3 divine weapon. This matter has to be carried out openly. There's no need for that. My father has eyes and ears everywhere. I'm afraid that the news of Cho Tsinghui having a rank 3 divine weapon is already on his desk. If I tell you to go, then go. Do you still want to kill Cho Tsinghui for revenge? Of course. Luo Tianying frowned. He was quite dissatisfied with Wang Jianshuan's tone. However, considering that the experts in the residence were almost all dead and he still had to rely on Wang Jianshuan's strength, he could only endure it. I'll go see my father in a moment. Wang Jianxian replied. In reality, there was no need for Luo Tianning to openly report that Xing Hui had a rank 3 divine weapon. As the strongest of the princes, Luo Tianning's every move was closely watched by many people. Naturally, everyone knew that Xing Hui was related to them. When Xing Hui relied on his rank 3 divine weapon to kill the 4 awakening experts of the third prince's residence, all the factions in the Lorraine royal capital who thought they had the qualifications to obtain a rank 3 divine weapon were ready to make a move. For a time, a storm cloud slowly gathered after Xing Hui and his group who had left the Lorraine royal capital. However, just as this storm was about to take shape and completely pounce on Xing Hui and his group, the emperor of the Lorraine kingdom suddenly moved. The consecrators of the consecration hall came out in full force and instantly took control of the situation in the Lorraine royal capital. As the ruler of the Lorraine kingdom, Luo Jiuzhou immediately led the elites of the palace and rushed straight toward the third prince and his group who were still unwilling to give up. The third prince, who had just separated from Wang Jianxian and had not even had time to breathe, was directly surrounded by the palace guards led by Luo Jiuzhou. "Father, what are you doing?" Luo Tianning, who was restrained by 2 awakening realm experts, instinctively felt that something was wrong. Seeing his father step into his residence angrily, he hurriedly stepped forward to greet him. "Bastard!" However, as soon as he opened his mouth, Luo Jiuzhou slapped him without hesitation. Slap. How heavy was the slap of a late-stage awakening realm powerhouse? The third prince himself had not yet stepped into the awakening realm. He was only at the peak of the blood-changing realm, and he relied on treasures of heaven and earth to reach this realm. Facing Luo Jiuzhou's slap, he spat out blood and flew out. For a time, the third prince, who had just suffered a blow, was completely stunned. "Do you want to anger me to death? Break his legs for this prince." "Father?" Luo Tianning had already suffered a great loss at the hands of Xing Hui. Now, seeing that his father was not going to uphold justice for him, he was going to break his legs? An unprecedented fear suddenly surged in his heart. The next moment, a shrill scream came out of Luo Tianning's mouth. Luo Jiuzhou did not even look at Luo Tianning, as if he was not his son at all. He waved his hand fiercely and strode out of the third prince's residence. He said sternly, "Bring him here. Catch up with Xing Hui, child Zhua, and make him kneel and beg for forgiveness." Chapter 49. Xing Hui was naturally unaware of the changes in Lorraine City. At this moment, he had already led the people from the Divine Armament Tower out of the Lorraine royal capital. However, due to the delay in the transmission of the news, there were still quite a number of people following behind them. It was as if they couldn't forget about the level 3 divine weapon in Xing Hui's hands. "All right, take your men and head to the Eastern Cloud Empire. I'm going alone," Xing Hui said. Exanlong also felt something. He understood that he would only be a burden if he followed his young master. He immediately bowed respectfully and said, "Young master, please take care. Remember to break through to the awakening realm as soon as possible and reopen the divine armament building. In the future, meet me at the Chaos Temple every week and report to me about the collection of the divine grimoire." "Yes, young master." Speaking of this, Exanlong seemed to have thought of something. He hesitated for a moment and said, "Sir, it's not easy to buy divine codices in the Eastern Barren territory. After all, the 10 sacred clans are too strict. If you want divine codices, I'm afraid you have to make a move in the Chaos Shrine." "Chaos Temple?" "The Chaos Temple doesn't seem to be able to trade items." "You can't trade items, but the Tier 25 Son of Chaos Incarnation technique doesn't have such a restriction. The Incarnation technique is somewhat similar to the consciousness projection of those legendary powerhouses. As long as you have a set of coordinates, you can project your power hundreds of millions of kilometers away. Although the further you go, the greater the consumption and the weaker you'll be, it's not difficult at all if you just want to collect Taoist rhymes and complete a trade." Exanlong's words made Xing Hui's eyes light up. "Dao rhyme?" Collecting items that contain Taoist rhythms can be exchanged for a divine codex. How many Taoist rhythms does a divine codex require? The market price of an ordinary divine codex is only 5 Taoist rhymes, and there's still room for negotiation. After all, those who have reached the 25th level of primal chaos are all top-notch almighties, and to them, ordinary divine codices might not be that valuable. It's said that there are times when some almighties take a liking to you and will even teach you for free, but the possibility of that happening is too low. Going up, the price will increase exponentially according to the grade of the divine codex. A transcendent divine codex requires 100 Taoist rhymes, which is the entire primal chaos level. 100 Taoist rhymes can be exchanged for a supreme scripture? Tsing Hui asked. Xen Long was stunned by Tsing Hui's words. After a while, he said in disbelief, 100 Taoist rhymes. That's an entire primal chaos rank. If it weren't for the fact that there are too few transcendent scriptures, no one would exchange for them. Is that so? Tsing Hui had forgotten about this. His Taoist rhymes were obtained by 1 point a day. It was too simple. Therefore, he didn't have any direct feelings towards 100 points of Taoist rhymes. It's not easy to obtain supreme treasures that contain the aura of Tao. Every single item that contains the aura of Tao is enough to cause the elders, hall masters, and even sect masters of the 10 sacred grounds to fight over them. Obtaining them all depends on luck. Many Sons of Chaos only obtain 1 or 2 items that contain the aura of Tao in their entire lives. At this point, Xen Long laughed bitterly. At least I've been a Son of Chaos for many years. Let alone obtaining an item that contains the aura of Tao, I've never even heard of it. Of course, this could also be because those Sons of Chaos would quickly hand over an item that contains the aura of Tao to their elders or use it for themselves. After all, such an item is simply a source of disaster for those without strength and forces. Most of those at the 25th level of the Primal Chaos rank are in the Infinite Wasteland region. Moreover, the price of projecting an avatar to the Eastern Wasteland region is not small. Even a peak 6th level saint would have to spend more than half a month recuperating to use the avatar technique. Moreover, how difficult is it to obtain the aura of Tao? With only a small amount of the aura of Tao, would those top figures be willing to use the avatar technique to project it over? A Son of Chaos only has 1 item that contains the aura of Tao. What if a dozen or so Sons of Chaos gathered together? A dozen or so Sons of Chaos gathered together. Xen Long nodded. The Sons of Chaos actually have their own organizations. Generally, they are presided over by a personal space owner. The gathering point is the personal space of that Son of Chaos. After each of them has the aura of Tao, they will discuss a meeting location. When the aura of Tao in the organization has reached a certain level, they will notify top figures with good reputation to conduct transactions with them. Oh, aren't they afraid of spies sneaking in and being caught in one net? Of course such things happen, and they can't be avoided. Therefore, every organization that joins the organization has to go through a strict test. If one person goes wrong, the entire organization will be implicated. Xen Long paused slightly at this point. In fact, I'm a member of a Primal Chaos organization. If young master trusts me, I can recommend you to join this organization as a guarantor. However, this organization doesn't have many transactions. It usually takes 1 or 2 years to accumulate enough aura of Tao to conduct a transaction with a certain almighty. Sure. As Tsing Hui spoke, he glanced behind him. The next moment his figure leaped. Like a meteor striking the moon, he rushed 100 meters away in an instant. 100 meters away, the viscera refining and blood-changing experts who were monitoring the movements of Tsing Hui's group from afar thought that they were very skilled and were very secretive. When they saw Tsing Hui rushing toward them, they were all scared out of their wits. Unfortunately, facing Tsing Hui, who could even kill Awakening Realm experts, even if they were in the Awakening Realm, as long as they were not the best in the Awakening Realm, they would still die when facing Tsing Hui, not to mention that they were only in the viscera refining and blood-changing realms. Swish. Sword light crisscrossed. 23 viscera refining and blood-changing realm experts, who represented unknown forces, were brazenly killed. The few remaining people fled back into the city as fast as they could, not daring to appear in front of Tsing Hui again. Let's split up here. Tsing Hui's figure flashed and returned to Xen Long's side. Yes, young master. Xen Long looked at Tsing Hui gratefully. He knew that Tsing Hui had killed those people to intimidate the forces behind them so that they would not dare to act rashly. Secondly, he had revealed the green firmament sword to let everyone know that the rank 3 divine weapon they needed was in Tsing Hui's hands. 3 days later, I'll meet you at the same place in the Chaos Temple. Young master, be careful on the way. It's a small matter. I'll erase the spiritual imprint on the rank 4 flying sword. If they want to take the rank 3 divine weapon from me, they better do it as soon as possible. If they are still indifferent after 4 or 5 days, then don't blame me for not keeping them company. Rank 4 flying sword. Tsing Hui was able to erase the spiritual imprint on the rank 3 divine weapon, the green firmament sword. Naturally, he could erase the spiritual imprint on the rank 4 flying sword. Once the spiritual imprint on the rank 4 flying sword was erased, he would be able to fly on the sword and enter the sky. By then, apart from awakening realm powerhouses who rode rank 2 and rank 3 spirit beasts and cultivators who also had flying swords, he would be able to go anywhere in the world. After understanding this, Xen Long immediately relaxed. If that's the case, then I won't travel with young master. Young master, please rest assured. After leaving the Lorraine Kingdom's territory, I will begin to adjust my condition and attack the awakening realm. I won't cause any trouble for young master. Tsing Hui nodded and waved at him, about to leave on his horse. But at this moment, a group of dozens of people quickly rushed over from the Lorraine city. Before they arrived, their voices were already heard. There was a hint of flattery in their tone. Prince Tsing Hui, please wait. Prince Tsing Hui, please wait. Chapter 50. Tsing Hui, who was about to leave, frowned and paused. But he still said to Xen Long, if there is danger, you go first. Yes, child. Xen Long understood that if something happened that Tsing Hui couldn't solve, they would be a burden if they stayed here. Prince Tsing Hui, Prince Tsing Hui. Soon, a group of people approached from afar. When Xen Long clearly saw the leader of the group, who should have been full of majesty, but now had a kind face and even a trace of flattery, it was as if he had seen an inconceivable scene. He couldn't help but rub his eyes, as if he was hallucinating. Looking at his dressing, he should be a member of the royal family of Lorraine. If he sends an ancestor of the royal family who is in the 2nd level of the longevity realm, he may be able to fight with me. But is he in the 1st level of the longevity realm? Does he want to die? Tsing Hui slowly put his right hand on the hilt of the Qingshao sword. Prince Tsing Hui, this is the emperor of the Lorraine Kingdom. Xen Long saw that Tsing Hui mistakenly thought that this person was a hunter hired by the 3rd prince, so he was scared and said quickly, the emperor of the Lorraine Kingdom? Tsing Hui was slightly stunned. At this time, Luo Jiuzhou had already come to a place less than 10 meters away from Tsing Hui. Under the gaze of Xen Long, Qing Hong and others, who widened their eyes as if they had seen a ghost, he bowed to Tsing Hui with a smile. Greetings, Prince Tsing Hui. Tsing Hui was still vigilant, holding the sword with one hand. I wonder why the monarch of the Lorraine Kingdom stopped me? If you are here to avenge your son, Tsing Hui, will accept it. How dare I? I am here to apologize to Prince Tsing Hui. Luo Jiuzhou said and shouted to the subordinates behind him, bring that unfilial son here. One of the awakening realm worshippers responded. Soon, a wailing man was brought to the front of the crowd by 2 great worshippers. They threw him to the ground. This man looked like he had been in a high position for a long time. He had a graceful and luxurious temperament. However, his legs were clearly broken and his face was twisted in pain. Naturally, he no longer had any elegance. After being thrown to the ground by the 2 consecrators, he screamed in pain again. This is the 3rd prince? Xen Long was slightly startled. Then he confirmed with a startled look, yes. This is His Highness the 3rd Prince. I once saw him from afar. There is no doubt that he is the 3rd Prince, but how could he? It is precisely that unfilial son of mine. That unfilial son actually dared to offend Prince Tsing Hui. His crime is truly unforgivable. After I found out about this matter, I was furious. I specially ordered people to break his legs and have him come to beg for forgiveness from you, Prince Tsinghui. As for how to punish him, Prince Tsinghui, I will not complain in the slightest." Luo Jiuzhou smiled and cupped his hands. Then, he turned to Luo Tianying and said sternly, "Kneel down." At this time, Luo Tianying was simply about to cry. Originally, he had mobilized a large number of people to take revenge on Chou Tsinghui for killing Sword Rain Scholar. When everyone knew about it, Tsinghui had killed most of the experts in his residence. His vitality was greatly damaged and his reputation was ruined. However, because of the third-level magic weapon, he did not dare to take revenge. He could only pin his hopes on the Myriad Swords Mountain, who had always looked down on him. One could imagine the grievance and anger in his heart. When he finally returned to his own residence, he didn't even have time to drink water before his entire residence was surrounded by his father's men. Before he could figure out what was going on, he was slapped in the face. Following that, his legs were broken, causing him, who had lived a life of luxury since he was young, to faint from the pain. Now that he had finally woken up, he was forced by his father to kneel down and apologize to Chou Tsinghui, who had brought him endless humiliation in front of so many people. The humiliation aside, the key point was his legs were broken. How could he kneel down? Fortunately, at this time, Luo Jiuzhou realized that there was something wrong with his statement. He looked a little embarrassed, but he immediately turned to the two consecrators. "Hold him down and kneel down. Let Prince Tsinghui deal with him." The two guardians restrained Luo Tianying and could only keep him in a kneeling position. Even so, Luo Tianying was still humiliated to be forced to kneel in front of Qing Su in front of so many people. What terrified him even more was that his father, Luo Jiuzhou, was treating him like this. Was there still a chance for him to take the throne of the Lorraine Kingdom? Could he still keep his identity as a prince? Luo Jiuzhou had more than a dozen children. It did not matter if he had one more or one less. Once he lost his identity as a prince, what was Luo Tianying? After figuring this out, he really trembled in fear. "Monarch Luo, what do you mean?" Tsinghui's eyes fell on Luo Jiuzhou. Tsinghui was not the only one who wanted to know this question. Behind Luo Jiuzhou, the eldest prince Luo Tiancheng, the 10th prince Luo Jianglu, and the 12th prince Luo Hechuan also couldn't wait to know the answer. What happened on Earth that made the monarch of the Luolin Kingdom put justice before family to please Chou Tsinghui and quench his anger? This unfilial son deserves to die for being disobedient. "Prince Tsinghui, don't worry about me. Just punish him as you wish." Speaking of this, Luo Jiuzhou lowered his voice slightly. "Prince Tsinghui, please put in a good word for us in front of Miss Nailin when you see her. I really didn't know that Prince Tsinghui was a member of Miss Nailin's family. Otherwise, as early as the first day when Prince Tsinghui entered Yunwu City, we should have invited Prince Tsinghui to the palace as a host." Although Luo Jiuzhou's voice was low, several princes close to him, as well as Exen Long and others, still heard it clearly. For a moment, they were all at a loss. Nailin Fei? Nailin Fei was just an inherited disciple who ranked less than 300. How could she make the entire Luolin royal family bow down to her? However, Tsinghui was surprised at first, and then he quickly thought of something. He remembered that Yu Shanshan seemed to have said before leaving, Nailin Fei took the key step and broke through the cultivation? The third level of the longevity realm, refining qi into gang? The Luolin royal family was not afraid of the second level of the longevity realm. Even if it was someone at the peak of the genuine qi realm, the Luolin royal family could fight against him with the help of the ancestors and third-level magic weapons. However, a person at the third level of the longevity realm, refining qi into gang, she was already qualified to suppress the Luolin royal family. In particular, Nailin Fei was so young and had unlimited potential. The people of the Luolin royal family must have known the news, so it was reasonable for them to have such an attitude. Tsinghui didn't want to act with the help of others, especially Nailin Fei. His goal was to shatter the vacuum as soon as possible, find the cave residence of the true god Jun, and then return to the earth to meet Jiang Ningji to fulfill his original promise. Therefore, he didn't want to have too much involvement with Nailin Fei and the Zhuo family. But now, It was impossible not to be involved. At least, he had to owe her a favor for the Luolin royal family. Since he had decided to owe her a favor, then Xinghui looked at Luo Tianying coldly and decided his life and death with one sentence. Monarch Luo, your son is too arrogant and domineering. He really needs to be disciplined. He has today's power because he is a prince. Since you have broken his legs, then abolish his cultivation, deprive him of his identity as a prince, remove his royal ancestral records, and demote him to a commoner as punishment. Chapter 51. Commoner? Deprive him of his identity? At this moment, Luo Tianying couldn't help but shout in horror, "No. Don't deprive me of my identity. Prince Xinghui, I was wrong. Please forgive me. From now on, I will never dare to disrespect you, Prince Xinghui. Please, don't deprive me of my identity." Xinghui didn't say anything else. Seeing that Xinghui had spoken, Luo Jiuzhou naturally wouldn't hesitate. Once Xinghui was dissatisfied, the ancestors would also be dissatisfied. If the ancestors were dissatisfied, he would no longer be able to sit on the throne. He immediately ordered without hesitation, well, as Prince Xinghui said, from now on, deprive the third Prince Luo Tianying of his identity as a prince, remove his ancestral records from the imperial clan court, and demote him to a commoner. Luo Tianying let out a shrill scream. He had offended countless people in his life. His cultivation was abolished and he was reduced to a mortal. His legs were broken, and he no longer had the identity of a prince. His future was already foreseeable. This was crueler than killing him. This scene fell into the eyes of Luo Tiancheng, Luo Jianglu, Luo Hechuan, Princess Qingwan, and the others. They all widened their eyes in disbelief. His Majesty Luo Jiuzhou, did he really deprive Luo Tianying of his identity and remove his ancestral records as Xinghui said? What kind of background did he have? When they thought up to there, the gazes of the princes and their guests towards Qing Su were immediately filled with reverence. Well, this matter is over. I'm in a hurry, so I'll take my leave first. Xinghui said, Prince Xinghui, it's late today. Why don't you take a rest in the imperial city and treat it as an apology for offending you before? No, that's all. I'll have someone escort Prince Xinghui all the way, in case there are any unscrupulous people plotting against you. No need. Xinghui finished and cupped his hands to Luo Jiuzhou, goodbye. After that, he rode his horse and left. Prince Xinghui, have a safe journey. If you have time, please come to the imperial city of Luolin. Luo Jiuzhou shouted loudly, and his tone sounded so sincere. This scene fell into the eyes of Luo Tiancheng, Luo Jianglu, Luo Hechuan, and the others. They secretly made up their minds that if they had a chance in the future, they must find ways to befriend Xinghui. For no other reason than their father's attitude towards Chou Xinghui. Qing Su spurred his horse away, gradually going further and further away. Due to Luo Jiuzhou's obstruction, some forces that were ready to attack Xinghui suddenly stopped. They were ignorant and fearless of Xinghui's background, but they were extremely afraid of the imperial family of Luolin. Besides, even the imperial family of Luolin gave up stopping Xinghui for some reason. Before they really figured out what happened, they dared not act rashly. Under these circumstances, the green ruins peacefully broke away from the boundaries of the Lorraine royal capital. 300 miles away from the imperial city of Luolin, Xinghui detoured around the Yunhuang mountain range and went straight to the deep mountains and forests. If he wanted to self-awaken, in addition to constantly improving his sword intent, he could only suppress the limits of his body. Only in this way could he take the crucial step. The biggest difference between the life of this world and the life of our Earth is that there are various kinds of bloodlines hidden in their bodies. The characteristic of humans being the spirit of all things has been demonstrated incisively and vividly in this world. Even the top mythological beast bloodline in the world has to show its human form in the end. It can be inferred that the most powerful bloodline in the world is not the mythological beast, but the human itself. However, the human's bloodline level is limited here. There are no characteristics on the surface. Without the help of external forces, the weakest ferocious beast can kill a human, Xing Hui pondered the principle of self-awakening in his mind. Born in the world of Earth, he had a characteristic of pursuing reason and evidence in his thinking. Coupled with his enhanced perception at the 4th level, he quickly captured the biggest characteristic of human, or bloodline talent. Compatibility. The human bloodline could be compatible with all bloodlines in the world. And the basis for all of this was the word spirit, the spirit of all living things. Or in other words, soul. No wonder self-awakened people can be compatible with other bloodlines and cultivate 2 bloodlines at the same time. It's because their souls are far stronger than ordinary people. Supreme Nine Sword was able to achieve self-awakening because he used the sword intent of the Tai One sword to sharpen his own soul. When the pressure on the soul reaches the limit, it will undergo a transformation and awaken. After the spiritual awakening, it will affect the physical body and complete self-awakening. After a summary, Xing Hui suddenly understood the direction of self-awakening. A spiritual transformation. The higher the upper limit of the spiritual power, the better the transformation effect, and the better the talent from self-awakening. A spiritual transformation. The soul appears as the spirit in the Son of Chaos interface, but it seems to be to maintain the uniformity of the interface. The spirit value is different from attack, defense, and speed. If these 3 attributes are higher by 1 point at the same time, there will be an advantage. If it is higher by 2 points, the advantage will turn into an obvious advantage, and when it is higher by 3 points, it will be a crushing advantage. In other words, under normal circumstances, if there is a 9-point difference in attributes, the outcome of the battle cannot be reversed by luck, battle intent, and fighting spirit. However, if one does not comprehend sword intent, a 10-point difference in the spirit attribute will hardly have any effect. With my level 34 spiritual power, the opponent's spirit level must be above level 60 to make my soul overload and undergo a transformation. Level 60 corresponded to the Almighty of the 6th level of the longevity stage and the prominent divine stage. The 6th level of the longevity stage was the level of the masters of the 10 great sacred lands. Did he really have to enter the Hunyuan Heaven sect? Thinking of this, Xing Hui frowned. It was troublesome to have a high spirit level. At that moment, the sound of galloping horses came from ahead. There was also a faint shout. "Over here! Don't let them escape. Someone dares to chase after me?" Xing Hui's expression turned cold. However, a new voice soon sounded. Although he has a blood transformation realm cultivation, he has lost an arm and lost more than half of his strength. In addition, he was severely injured by the captain and is on the verge of death. He's no longer worth mentioning. Speed up the search. Since young Master Longquan has offered a price, we can only capture that woman and sell her to young Master Longquan. Only then can we recoup our huge loss of millions of gold. Yes. A response sounded. From the sound of it, there were no less than 100 people. All of them were full of energy. They were clearly elites at the marrow-cleansing realm or even the viscera-refining realm. Xing Hui could not be bothered with them, but at that moment, 2 figures covered in blood suddenly rushed out from the grass in front of him. They looked extremely wretched. These 2 people were clearly in a panic from being chased by those people and did not notice Xing Hui walking on the mountain path. When they saw Xing Hui, they could not help but be stunned. Immediately after, the 2 people's faces revealed a look of horror. "It's you?" At that moment, Xing Hui recognized the 2 people. They were the children of the Lorraine Kingdom's Beast Hunter Union's president, Wu Jinyuan, Wu Ju, and Wu Yao. However, the situation of the 2 presidents' children was very bad. Chapter 52. Xing Hui glanced at the 2 of them. Although Wu Ju was a blood transformation expert, he had lost an arm and had less than 60% of his cultivation left. Now, he was being chased by a large number of experts and had been stabbed several times. He was on the verge of death and was completely relying on his sister, Wu Yao, to carry him to escape. Wu Yao was still young and only had the strength of the marrow-cleansing realm. She would be considered an expert in some small cities, but in King Fu's capital, she was not even worth mentioning. While being chased, she had also reached her limits and her mental state was on the verge of collapse. However, The grudge between them had been resolved with Wu Jinyuan's death and Wu Ju's compensation of 1 million gold. Xing Hui would not waste time on them. After glancing at the two of them, he quickly withdrew his gaze and was about to leave. But at that moment, the dying Wu Ju seemed to have grabbed onto a life-saving straw. He forcefully raised his mental state and shouted weakly. Then, ignoring his injuries, he knelt before Xing Hui and said, "Prince Xing Hui, please wait. Please save my sister, Yao." "Brother," Xing Hui glanced at the two of them. He could not think of a reason to save them. "Prince Xing Hui, I know that I have offended you before, but I already know my mistakes and have paid the price for my foolish actions. I, Wu Ju, have offended Prince Xing Hui. My death is not to be regretted, but my sister has a kind heart. She is innocent. Prince Xing Hui, please be merciful and save my sister." After Wu Ju finished speaking, he kowtowed to Xing Hui in desperation. His forehead heavily hit the ground, causing it to bleed. Xing Hui glanced at Wu Ju and then at the people from the Demon Hunters Union who were chasing in this direction. His expression did not change much as he said, "I have no reason to save you. I'm seriously injured and will definitely die. Moreover, I didn't know what's good for me and offended Prince Xing Hui. My death is not enough to be regretted. I only ask that Prince Xing Hui save my sister. As long as Prince Xing Hui is willing, I, Wu Ju, will work like an ox or a horse in my next life to repay Prince Xing Hui's kindness," Wu Ju said mournfully. In the end, he kowtowed again and again. Soon, his forehead was blood red. The son of the president of the Union of Demon Hunters had completely lost his power after the death of Wu Jinyuan. Together with the millions of gold coins that his family had brought to the Union of Demon Hunters, a lot of people in the Union of Demon Hunters added insult to injury. Not only were all his properties taken away, his own life was in danger too. "Prince Xing Hui, I know that you are a good person. Please save my brother." To the side, Wu Yao also knelt down and begged sorrowfully. Although she appeared to be in a rather sorry state at this moment, it still couldn't conceal the gentle and virtuous natural beauty on her body. Especially the light yellow dress on her body, which had been torn apart by the leaves in her panicked escape, revealing her forearms and the snow-white skin at her waist. It added a delicate beauty to her, and at first glance, it was breathtaking. No wonder that so-called young Master Long Quan was willing to help the Demon Hunters Union fill the millions of gold coins whole in order to buy her. Unfortunately, Xing Hui had no intention of interfering in this matter. Seeing Xing Hui turn and leave without hesitation and hearing the shouts coming from afar, Wu Ju's eyes flashed with deep despair. His face was filled with regret. His family was ruined. If he had not relied on his identity as the son of the president of the Demon Hunters Union to act arrogant and despotic in the Divine Armament Tower and refused to forgive Xing Hui, how could he have ended up in such a situation? Intense regret engulfed his heart, making him want to howl to the sky. At this time, Wu Yao suddenly had the courage to quickly come to Xing Hui and beg, "Prince Xing Hui, please save my brother. As long as you can save my brother, I am willing to do anything you want me to do. Even if I have to be a slave or a maid, I will not hesitate." Xing Hui frowned and was about to say something, but at this time, a special wave turned into a message that suddenly sounded in his mind. "Discovered Dao Vessel. Do you want to fuse it?" It was the voice of the Chaos Temple. Dao Vessel? Xing Hui's gaze immediately fell on Wu Yao in front of him. Dao vessels could only be sensed when they were 10 meters away. Wu Ju was still 10 meters away from him, but Wu Yao, in order to stop him, was only 4 meters away from him. She had a Dao vessel on her? A Dao vessel would at least have a little Dao aura, and a little Dao aura was usually worth a 5th or 6th level divine weapon. For a moment, Xing Hui's gaze was constantly sizing up Wu Yao, as if he wanted to find the location of the Dao vessel on her body. Being sized up by Xing Hui, Wu Yao's heart was filled with humiliation and fear. But in order to save her brother, she had to straighten her slender waist and do her best to show her beautiful side, hoping to use her value to exchange for Xing Hui's help. Shio! 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 At this time, the pursuers finally caught up. As the bushes and trees in front of them were separated, several figures appeared at the scene at the same time. Seeing Wu Ju and Wu Yuyao, the leading blood transformation realm old man's eyes suddenly lit up and he excitedly shouted, "Here, here, ha! Vice President Yan's 30,000 gold reward will finally fall into my hands. Young Master Wu Ju, in order for the new president to safely lead the Demon Hunters Association to prosperity, I can only ask you to die. As for young Miss Wu, you can obediently serve young Master Long Quan in the future." However, when the Viscera Refinement Realm expert behind him saw Tsing Hui behind Wu Yuyao, his pupils suddenly shrank. His pleasant surprise instantly turned into fear. It's you? The blood transformation realm expert named Old Wu also saw Tsing Hui. His hands were still fine, so it was obvious that he hadn't experienced the battle at the Divine Weapon Tower. Seeing that Tsing Hui was young, he immediately sneered, "Where did this brat come from? My Demon Hunters Association has matters to attend to, and you still dare to stay here? Scram. Tsing Hui, Captain Wu, this is Cho Tsing Hui." The Viscera Refinement Realm expert who recognized Tsing Hui's identity was so frightened that his voice trembled. "What Tsing Hui, Pak Hui, he's just a brat." Captain Wu waved his hand with a disdainful expression. However, in just a moment, he seemed to have thought of something and his face suddenly became deathly pale. "Cho Tsing Hui? The Cho Tsing Hui who killed President Wu, Sword Rain Scholar, and slaughtered the 5 great guests of the Third Prince's residence?" "Yes, it's him." This Viscera Refinement Realm expert fiercely nodded his head. Suddenly, Captain Wu felt his legs go soft, as if he couldn't even stand properly. With a frightened expression, he turned to Tsing Hui. "Prince Tsing Hui, it's a misunderstanding, I didn't know it was Prince Tsing Hui." Clang. What answered him was the sound of a treasured sword being unsheathed. Accompanied by a flash of sword light, the treasured sword returned to its sheath. Captain Wu's smile, which was full of fear and flattery, suddenly froze. In the next moment, a stream of blood blossomed from between his eyebrows. The sword aura had already pierced through the space between his eyebrows. Seeing that Captain Wu didn't even have the chance to react before being killed, the remaining experts of the Demon Hunter Union were all frightened into silence. They didn't dare to move an inch. "Tell the higher-ups of the Demon Hunter Union that I'm protecting the 2 of them. If anyone doesn't want to let this go, tell them to come find me." Hearing Tsing Hui's words, the remaining people all felt as if they had been pardoned. Yes. We'll definitely tell our president. If Prince Tsing Hui wants them, our Demon Hunter Union wouldn't dare to not give them to him. We'll return now and tell the others that we won't chase after the 2 of them anymore. Thank you, Prince Tsing Hui, for sparing our lives. Thank you, Prince Tsing Hui. We'll take our leave. The remaining people responded with a panicked expression. They didn't dare to stay at the scene for even half a second longer. One by one, they fled as fast as they could, disappearing into the forest in the blink of an eye. Chapter 53. Brother! Wu Yuyao's sorrowful voice resounded through the forest just as Captain Wu and the others were escaping. Wu Ju was dead. He had only managed to hang on until now because of his determination to protect Wu Yuyao. Now that Qing Su had intervened and saved Wu Yuyao, his wish had been fulfilled. Now that he had let go of his last breath, he would naturally die. Tsing Hui didn't say anything about this. He wasn't good at comforting people. Wu Yuyao cried by herself for half an hour before she finally accepted the reality in front of her. She was still afraid of Tsing Hui and didn't dare to be presumptuous in front of him. She had to dig the ground herself to bury Wu Ju's body. Tsing Hui saw her slow down and unsheathed the green cloud sword. Sword chi overflowed. In an instant, a hole with a diameter of 2 meters and a depth of 1 meter was formed. "Thank you," Wu Yuyao thanked him softly and then pushed Wu Ju into the hole and piled up the soil. By the time she used a piece of wood to erect the torch tombstone, 2 hours had already passed. Seeing that Wu Yuyao was almost done, Tsing Hui asked, "What valuable things do you have on you?" Valuable things. Wu Yuyao was still immersed in grief, but out of fear of Tsing Hui, she didn't dare to not answer his question. After a while, she took out a sparkling gem and asked softly, "Is this what Prince Tsing Hui is talking about?" "Yes, it is." Sing Hui felt the slight movement of the Chaos Temple in his mind and nodded slightly. As he held the gem in his hand, the Chaos Temple's prompt sounded again. Discover Dao carrying object, Dao aura value 2. Do you want to integrate it? This number surprised Sing Hui. Moreover, this gem seemed to be separated from a whole body, and there seemed to be other parts. Sing Hui looked at Wu Yuyao. Do you know the origin of this object? This was something my father obtained by chance the last time he went out of the desolate Cloud Mountain range to pursue a spirit beast. Because of its gorgeous color, my father kept it and passed it to me in the end. When Wu Yuyao said this, she seemed to think of her father, Wu Zhenyuan, and her expression couldn't help but turn gloomy. Last time, did anyone know where these gems came from? Following my father to the desolate Cloud Mountain range, there are 12 members of the 1st Brigade led by Captain Xianyu. If Prince Sing Hui wants to find this item, he will have to find the other members of the 1st Brigade to lead the way. Where are they? Take me to them. Other than the captain and vice-captain of the 1st Brigade, only 3 of the 10 people are left. The remaining 9 have all died. At this point, Wu Yao looked at Sing Hui in fear. Obviously, those 9 people were killed by Sing Hui. Of the remaining 3, Uncle Ning Shan died 2 days ago to help the 2 of us break out of the encirclement. Uncle Huang Shang lost an arm and was killed by an enemy. Only Uncle Zhou Bui saw that the situation was bad and escaped from the Lorraine Kingdom. Currently, I don't know where Uncle Zhou is. His whereabouts are unknown. Sing Hui's brows furrowed. This world was different from Earth. There was a network everywhere. Looking for a person was like looking for a needle in a haystack. However, if they could use thousands of people to do a carpet search, they might be able to find Zhou Bui's whereabouts. It was just a matter of time. Manpower, the Lorraine royal family. If Sing Hui owed Nayland Fei a favor, he might be able to let the Lorraine royal family find Zhou Bui's whereabouts. However, this way there was the risk of being exposed. How's the relationship between Zhou Bui and your father? Uncle Zhou is loyal to my father. The members of the 1st Demon Hunter team are all my father's confidants. Uncle Zhou escaped because he knew that he had no other choice. Good. Where's the nearest branch of the Demon Hunters Guild? This place is only 300 kilometers away from the Lorraine Royal Capital. The largest branch is naturally the Lorraine Royal Capital branch. However, 200 kilometers ahead, at the foot of the Cloud Wilderness Mountain Range, there's 100 Desolation City. The city isn't big, but because it's backed by the Cloud Wilderness Mountain Range, our Demon Hunters Guild has stationed many powerhouses there. It can be considered one of the top 5 branches in the Lorraine Kingdom. To the 100 Desolation City, Sing Hui said and leaped onto the horse. After a moment, he glanced at Wu Yuyao, who was in a sorry state because she had been fleeing for the past few days. He had no choice but to extend his hand. Get on the horse. Wu Yuyao bit her lips. Riding on the same horse as a stranger. This was something that she had never experienced before. However, due to her fear of Sing Hui, she did not dare to refuse. She could only extend her hand and let Sing Hui pull her into his embrace. Sit tight, Sing Hui said and did not have any other thoughts. There was a person living in his heart, and he had a promise to her. His promise to her had already filled his heart, and he would not give up any space for anyone else. A distance of 200 kilometers would take 5 to 6 hours for an ordinary horse, not to mention 2 people riding on it. When night fell, Sing Hui and Wu Yuyao appeared outside the 100 Desolation City. The 100 Desolation City was similar to the Cloud Wilderness Mountain Range. It was a war fortress that defended against the attacks of the ferocious beasts in the Cloud Wilderness Mountain Range. It was built very tall and was guarded by an army. Due to its proximity to the desolate Cloud Mountain Range, most of the passers-by in 100 Desolation City were martial artists. Even if there were some ordinary residents who weren't martial artists, they more or less had some foundation in cultivation, causing the people here to be swift and fierce, and powerhouses to emerge in an endless stream. Prince Sing Hui, may I know why we came to the 100 Desolation City? Zhou Bui is being hunted down, so he must be hiding very well and will not show up easily. However, once the Demon Hunters Guild stops persecuting you, and the news that you are in the 100 Desolation City spreads, he will take the initiative to come to you. Xing Hui said. Mr. Qing Su, if you're here too, the people of the Union of Demon Hunters won't let you go easily once they learn about your whereabouts. I understand, Xing Hui said. Although the Demon Hunters Union had many powerhouses, Nayland Fei probably wouldn't just stand by and watch if they really didn't give up. A powerhouse who had cultivated Qi into aura with a bright future, anyone who wanted to offend him would have to think twice. Furthermore, the people who stood at the pinnacle of the Demon Hunters Guild were only at immortal level 2. With the green firmament sword, he was confident that he would not be weaker than any of the immortal level 2 powerhouses. Other than the green firmament sword, he also had a 4th order flying sword. With this sword, he could advance and retreat as he pleased, coming and going as he pleased. This method was somewhat dangerous, and he needed to owe Nayland Fei a favor and take advantage of her power to act. However, it was the best method he could think of at the moment. It seems that I have to write a letter to Nayland Fei. Xing Hui thought to himself, but he had already arrived in front of the Demon Hunters Guild. That is, when the 2 guards of the Demon Hunters Guild saw Wu Yao, their eyes lit up slightly. Then one of them winked and immediately sent someone to report. The other person quickly greeted with a smile, "Miss, you're back? How did Miss become like this? Please come in." Xing Hui glanced at the guard and did not speak. He followed Wu Yao into the Demon Hunters Guild. Not long after they stepped into the Demon Hunters Guild, a group of dozens of people quickly surrounded them. Then, a man with the cultivation of the blood transformation realm laughed out loud. I can wear out iron shoes in a fruitless search, only to find it without any effort. I didn't think that young Master Long Quan's reward would be mine in the end. President Tong Fei. Wu Yao looked at the man who had obviously turned to the new president, and her eyes dimmed slightly. In the past, when her father was still alive, these people were all courteous to her and doted on her. But today, people were gone, and the tea was cold. This made her truly see through the fickleness of human nature. Since young Miss Yu Yao has delivered herself to me, I presume you've thought it through. I, Tong Fei, will not treat you unfairly. Before young Master Long Quan sends people to take you away, I'll definitely provide you with good food and drink until... Tong Fei laughed loudly, his face full of pride. However, before he finished laughing, he glanced at Xing Hui from the corner of his eyes. Suddenly, as if his neck was suddenly grabbed, his laughter stopped abruptly. Prince Xing Hui? Chapter 54. Don't be rude. Don't be rude to Prince Xing Hui. After recognizing Qing Su's identity, Tong Fei hurriedly yelled at the experts of the Union of Demon Hunters in the surroundings. He was afraid that they would be reckless enough to offend Qing Su and bring disaster to their branch. After stopping the ordinary people of the Yao Hunters Union, he bowed to Xing Hui with sweat on his forehead. So it's Prince Xing Hui. I apologize for not going out to welcome you. Please forgive me, Prince Xing Hui. Xing Hui glanced at him and went straight to the point. I'm protecting Wu Yao. I'll be staying in 100 Desolation City for a while. If that young Master Dragon Spring has any objections, he can look for me directly. If he dares to make a move in the dark, don't blame my sword for being merciless. Yes. I'll definitely pass on your words. Tong Fei hurriedly bowed in response. At the same time, his eyes were filled with disbelief. Wasn't there a deep hatred between Xing Hui and Wu Jinyuan? Why would he step forward to protect Wu Yao, even at the expense of offending young Master Dragon Spring? Let's go back. After giving his instructions, Xing Hui directly settled down in an inn in 100 Desolation City. At present, he could only wait passively, hoping that Zhou Buwei would come to him for the sake of Wu Jinyuan after learning that Wu Yao was safe and sound. After doing all this, Xing Hui waited in the inn for 2 days, fully focused on polishing the spiritual imprint of Vagabond Golden Light on the Grade 4 flying sword. When the time came for his meeting with Xen Long, he left a part of his mind on guard, while the other part operated the Primal Chaos secret method and went straight to the Primal Chaos Temple. Young Master. Not long after entering the Primal Chaos Temple, Xen Long, who had been waiting for some time, came to welcome him. All right, take me to the Sons of Primal Chaos organization you mentioned. Please follow me, young master. Xen Long respectfully led the way. Xing Hui glanced at Xen Long. How's Dragonchant Island's influence in the Lorraine Kingdom? Our Dragonchant Island's main force is in the sea south of the Lorraine Kingdom. We have quite a bit of influence in the coastal areas, but in the interior of the Lorraine Kingdom, we can't be compared to the other forces. Send a message to Dragonchant Island to find a person for me. He is Zhou Buwei, a member of the 1st Demon Hunter team of the Demon Hunters Union. The members of the 1st Demon Hunter team of the Demon Hunters Guild are all Wu Zhenyuan's trusted subordinates. Now that the Lorraine branch of the Demon Hunters Guild has a new power structure, the old subordinates of Wu Zhenyuan will probably be suppressed. If Zhou Buwei wants to hide, it won't be easy to find him. Do your best. Xing Hui was just asking. He didn't have much hope for Xen Long, yes. Xen Long agreed. After a moment, he carefully suggested, if young master really wants to find Zhou Buwei, I'm afraid you'll have to start with Wu Zhenyuan. If one of Wu Zhenyuan's trusted aides becomes the president of the Demon Hunters Union with young master's secret support, Zhou Buwei will definitely come to join you. I secretly supported someone to become the president of the Demon Hunters Union of the Lorraine Kingdom? Is it feasible? Of course it's feasible. Xen Long said, behind young master is Nailin Fei, who has already broken through to the Qi cultivation aura realm. Miss Nailin Fei has entered the 3rd level of the longevity realm at such a young age. It can be said that her future is limitless. In the future, there's a great chance that she will become the disciple of a peak master and oversee a peak. Even the elders of the sect wouldn't easily offend such a person. As long as young master shows a little goodwill to the Demon Hunters Union, the Demon Hunters Union definitely won't mind using this opportunity to step down and use young master as a springboard to climb up to Miss Nailin Fei. Influence, Xing Hui frowned. To do this, he would need to borrow Nailin Fei's influence to succeed, and he would also need to give in to the Demon Hunters Union, who wanted to take his life with a bounty on the divine weapon. It was not in line with Xing Hui's ideals. What's the real strength of the Demon Hunters Union? I want to know the detailed information of the Demon Hunters Union. My knowledge of this information is limited, but according to my judgment, the president of the Demon Hunters Union is only a genuine Qi realm expert at the 2nd level of the longevity realm. In addition, he should have several genuine Qi realm experts as his left and right arms. If young master really wants to know the detailed information of the Demon Hunters Union and even the information of the person behind him, there must be someone in the organization that I'm about to recommend young master to know. Or, is there any information in the Eastern Wilderness that they don't know? Xing Hui's heart skipped a beat as if he had thought of something. The Tianji Pavilion? Yes, there is a disciple of the Tianji Pavilion in our Sons of Chaos organization, Xen Long said. Introduce him to me. The Tianji Pavilion was one of the most mysterious forces in the Eastern Wilderness. It was not in the 10 Holy Lands, but none of the 10 Holy Lands dared to underestimate it. It was a mysterious force that made a living by selling information. As long as there were enough benefits, there was no information in the Eastern Wilderness that they couldn't find out. Moreover, it was rumored that the Tianji Pavilion seemed to be vaguely related to the Divine Secrets Pavilion, a top force in the distant Infinite Wilderness. This was also the reason why the 10 Holy Lands dared not openly attack the Tianji Pavilion, even though they knew that the Tianji Pavilion was secretly spying on them. Under Xen Long's lead, the two quickly arrived at a side hall, where a middle-aged man was already waiting. Jin Long, the middle-aged man, nodded to Xen Long and then turned to Xing Hui. Hello, I'm one of the people in charge of the external affairs of Dawn. My code name is Blazing Glory. You'll find that joining Dawn is the right choice. Xing Hui was somewhat surprised. He had originally thought that there would be a series of tests. The man who called himself Blazing Glory seemed to see through Xing Hui's doubts. He smiled bitterly and said, those higher-level organizations naturally have to be careful when they invite newcomers. However, Dawn is only a small organization, and there aren't that many Sons of Chaos who are willing to take the initiative to join. Having one more newcomer is beneficial to us, so the difficulty of the tests is naturally very low. As long as there is a recommendation from a senior member, any Son of Chaos can join Dawn. Of course, Before you've completely gained the trust of our deacons and leaders, we won't meet with you outside of the Chaos Temple. Tsing Hui nodded understandingly. All right, we generally don't use our real names when doing things in Dawn. Choose a code name yourself. I'm Pak Hui. All right, remember my hand seal. As Blazing Glory spoke, he used a hand seal. As Tsing Hui repeated the hand seal, the space around him changed. Before long, he appeared in a space that was divided into layers. A personal space. However, unlike his personal space in Qingsu, which was completely white and filled with only a few miscellaneous items, not only were there all sorts of barriers separating the space in this personal space, there were even a few rooms of different sizes. A level 1 personal space was 10 meters in length, width, and height. This space used this as a foundation to open up 3 levels, which were the living room, conference room, and some small rooms for private transactions. The materials used to divide the rooms were excellent for silencing. Even if they spoke in private, other than the owner of the personal space, there was no need to worry about their secrets being exposed. In the same personal space, this son of chaos had decorated it with color, but Tsing Hui basically did not pay much attention to it. Instantly, he felt a little ashamed. His chaos level had come too easily, so much so that he had not carefully studied how to maximize the effects of the abilities given by the chaos level. Advancement skills, divine arts, personal space, sword Dao talent, comprehension, recovery, and other characteristics, he had to study them properly when he had time. Your Excellency Pak Hui, welcome. As Tsing Hui stepped into the living room of this personal space, a well-dressed woman who looked to be in her late 20s greeted him with a smile. This is the Lord of Dawn, Lord Lingyu, a level 9 son of chaos. Hello. Tsing Hui nodded to the woman, Lingyu. These are the rules that you have to follow to join Dawn. Please take a look. As Lingyu spoke, she handed a book to Tsing Hui. Qingsu flipped through the books. During that time, quite a few sons of chaos who just happened to be in the Chaos Divine Hall gathered over. They smiled. A newcomer? How's your chaos level? Our rule is that we don't force people to report their chaos level. It's all voluntary. I'm just asking. Speaking of which, when will Lord Lingyu reach level 10? There have been many people around that area recently. I don't know how long that cave can be hidden. Soon. My Taoist rhyme has reached 94 points. I'm only 6 points away. I'll think of a way as soon as I reach level 10, learn the divine arts, and defeat the trial puppet that's 1 level higher than me. Then, I'll be able to pass the final test. It's too difficult to kill enemies without the help of divine weapons. But I'm waiting for Lord Lingyu to give me a share of the treasures in that cave. I promised you 30%. I won't disappoint you. We've followed Lord Lingyu for more than 10 years. Of course, we believe in Lord Lingyu's reputation. Lingyu and the Son of Chaos chatted casually. After Tsing Hui finished reading the rules, Lingyu turned to Tsing Hui and asked, Your Excellency Pak Hui, what do you think? I'm willing to join Dawn. Good. Your Excellency Pak Hui, welcome. Chapter 55. When will Dawn organize a trade with the powerful beings of the infinite wasteland world? Tsing Hui directly stated his purpose of joining Dawn. Can I ask Prince Tsing Hui what kind of item he wants to trade with the powerful beings of the infinite wasteland world? Divine Codex. Lingyu nodded as if it was reasonable. The Divine Codex of the Eastern Wasteland world was monopolized by the 10 great sacred clans. Ordinary rogue cultivators who wanted to obtain the inheritance of the Divine Codex had to join the 10 great sacred clans and make great contributions, or find the cave abodes of the powerful beings. However, these 2 opportunities were hard to come by. Instead, it was best to accumulate enough Dao aura and trade with the powerful beings of the infinite wasteland world. It was said that the Divine Codex of the 10 great sacred clans was passed down from the infinite wasteland world. Although the Divine Codex is extremely valuable, it is most effective before the bloodline awakens. When the bloodline awakens, the most important thing for cultivators is no longer the Divine Codex itself, but the battle body formed by condensing the bloodline completely. For example, the Azure Dragon Sacred Body of the Azure Dragon series, the White Tiger Sacred Body of the White Tiger series, the Burning Sky Sacred Body of the Vermilion Bird series, the Xuanwu Sacred Body of the Xuanwu series, and so on. The moment the sacred body is fully formed, the phantom of the sacred beast can be activated and manifested. This is the end of the sixth stage of the eternal life, the prominent divine realm. Lingyu paused. Although the divine codex is impressive, it is limited to those below the awakening realm. It doesn't require too much Taoist rhyme. Coincidentally, 3 members of our organization also need to prepare a divine codex for their juniors and relatives. You can talk to them about the details of the cooperation later. If nothing goes wrong, the Zhdong will invite Sword Master Bai Heng from the Heaven Wasteland world to trade with them in 2 months. Sword Master Bai Heng? Although Sword Master Bai Heng is one of the most reputable powerful beings of the Infinite Wasteland world, he has never been easy to talk to. It won't be difficult to get additional benefits from him. A member beside Lingyu was surprised. Being able to safely complete the trade is the limit. How can there be so many requests? Lingyu said. After the voting and discussion of the people in the dawn, the core of this transaction is the White Tiger Sacred Body of the White Tiger of the 4 Sacred Beasts. Cultivators who have awakened the bloodline of the Holy Beast White Tiger, the Spiritual Beast Red Tiger, the Tiger of Gingjin, the Snow Cloud Leopard and the Red Gold Leopard can sign up 1 month before the start of the transaction. We will conduct the final statistics. Fortunately, during the transaction, we will determine which level of the White Tiger Sacred Body our Taoist connotation can be exchanged for. If Your Excellency Pak Hui wants to join the transaction, you have to sign up in advance and report the Taoist connotation you can provide. Xing Hui nodded. At the end of the 6th level of the Eternal Life realm, one's physique would be at the Prominent Divinity realm. Once the physique was completed, one's strength would increase by more than 10 times compared to the Green Darkness realm. However, the Prominent Divine stage, which was the 6th stage of the Longevity stage, placed a huge burden on the cultivator. The battle body that they conjured could only last for a few breaths of time. Thus, this stage was also known as the Illusionary Divine stage. Only by stepping into the Sage stage and condensing true elemental energy could one ensure that the Sage body would last forever. After chatting with Xing Hui for a while, Lingyu expressed her welcome and left immediately. Before she left, Xing Hui considered that his chaotic stage was above Lingyu's. With a thought, he activated his identification skill silently. Lingyu. Chaotic stage, level 10. Attack, 49, Defense, 49, Speed, 48, Spirit, 51. According to the numbers, she was a strong person who had reached the peak of the 4th stage of the Longevity stage. However, his chaotic stage is obviously at level 10. Why did he tell the public that he was only at level 9? Xing Hui was surprised. Soon he understood something. A new ability would appear in every 5 stages of the chaotic stage. Between level 9 and level 10, there was a divine skill that could allow one to reverse the situation. He had told the public that his chaotic stage was level 9. If his identity was exposed one day, someone would target his chaotic stage and try to capture him alive and sell him. His level 1 divine skill might become the key to turning the tide of the battle. He could not reveal all of his information at any time. Looking at Lingyu who was leaving, Xing Hui taught her a lesson. Soon, Xing Hui found the other 3 traders. They called themselves Feng Hui, Bai Hai, and Yun Kong. Bai Hai was a female. Although she looked ordinary, she had an extraordinary aura. Your Excellency Pak Hui, how many Taoist rhymes do you have? Feng Hui could not wait to ask. My Taoist rhymes are limited. I only have 2 points. Feng Hui, Bai Hai, and Yun Kong were slightly disappointed. If that's the case, unless someone else is willing to make a bid within a month, we can only exchange for an ordinary Holy Grimoire. Next, the 3 of us will discuss who will be the inheritor of the Holy Grimoire. There can only be one inheritor? Can't we ask Swordmaster Bai Heng to pass on the Holy Grimoire to each of us once? Swordmaster Bai Heng is not easy to talk to. For 5 Taoist rhymes, he'll pass on the same ordinary Holy Grimoire to each of us once? What a joke! Imparting the Holy Grimoire in our sea of consciousness will consume a lot of mental energy. Then we can only change the way we speak. Whoever is willing to pay 2 Taoist rhymes will be the inheritor of the Holy Grimoire. The other 3 will be imparted orally by the inheritor. One was imparted directly by Swordmaster Bai Heng's consciousness while the other was imparted orally. The effects were naturally incomparable. Furthermore, they had to be careful of the other party cutting corners. My Taoist rhymes are limited. I choose to listen orally. Bai Hai said helplessly, I also choose to listen orally. I just want to prepare a holy grimoire for that brat at home. Spending 1 Taoist rhyme is my limit. Not long ago, I used my remaining Taoist rhymes to exchange for a 4th-tier low-grade defensive armor with Xing Yao. Now, I only have 1 Taoist rhyme left. Feng Hui said, 4th-tier low-grade defensive armor? What a loss. Bai Hai and Yun Kong shook their heads at the same time. There's no other way. Taoist rhymes can be exchanged for 5th-tier or even 6th-tier divine armors in Infinite Wasteland. However, we don't have the ability to go there. Our incarnation technique can't bring divine armors. And it's not easy to meet a mysterious merchant who crosses the sea from Infinite Wasteland. If a merchant who doesn't know his background rashly rushes over, he might be captured alive and take away the chaos inheritance. For safety, I can only exchange for a 4th-tier armor. Then there's no other way. Miss Pakhui, are you willing to pay 2 Taoist rhymes to become the inheritor of the Holy Grimoire? If not, we can only recruit another person to join us. At that time, we'll each take out techniques, divine armors, and elixirs to compete for the inheritor's identity. I'm willing to pay 2 Taoist rhymes to become the inheritor. Xing Hui said. Swordmaster Bai Heng was a famous great divine ability expert in Infinite Wasteland. When he imparted the Holy Grimoire to himself, he would more or less bring in some of his own understanding of the Holy Grimoire. This kind of understanding was hard to come by. That's good. It's settled then. We'll wait for a month to confirm the goods and arrange the location. Xing Hui nodded. In truth, the location of the transaction was the most dangerous. The moment someone leaked the information, the entire Sons of Chaos organization would be wiped out. It could be said that apart from those mighty existences who truly stood at the peak, any Son of Chaos who recklessly exposed themselves would be risking their lives. After discussing with Bai Hai and the others, Xing Hui agreed on a time to meet with Xan Long and then left Ling Yu's personal space. After returning to his own personal space from Ling Yu's personal space, Xing Hui couldn't help but chuckle. He truly had no idea that he was sitting on a mountain of treasures. His personal space, which was 10 meters long and wide, could be used to set up weapons of war. For example, the Lorraine Kingdom's famous Origin Spirit Cannon could kill anyone below the stellar energy realm. It was an excellent weapon for destroying cities. As long as he completed the adjustments in his personal space, he could take out the Origin Spirit Cannon at a critical moment and fire it. It seemed that he had to think of a way to make use of his personal space as much as possible. With this thought in mind, Xing Hui focused on the Tier 4 flying sword. The transactions of the Sons of Chaos had always been dangerous. If something unexpected happened, he would have to refine this Tier 4 flying sword to have a chance of protecting himself. Chapter 56. Flying Sword. At the periphery of the Yunhuang mountain range, Xing Hui pinched his fingers into a sword gesture. Beside him, the 4th-level flying sword revolved rapidly around his body. Along with the vibration of his sword essence, the flying sword that was slowly flying around his body burst out. In an instant, it crossed the distance of 300 meters between him and the tree in front of him, cutting the tree in half. After cutting the tree, the brilliant sword essence in Xing Hui's spiritual world rose. The flying sword emitted a blazing light, and then it pierced through a rock 400 meters away. Almost at the same time, Xing Hui let out a muffled groan, and the flying sword that burst out fell to the ground. To control the flying sword, one needs to combine genuine qi and sword essence. It also refers to the combination of genuine qi and genuine qi at the 4th level of the longevity realm. My sword essence is not weaker than a qi gang cultivator at the 3rd level of the longevity realm. However, the genuine qi in my body has yet to be formed. Controlling the flying sword for 300 meters is already the limit. After 300 meters, the opponent only needs to make an easy hit to disrupt and shatter the resonance between the flying sword and my sword essence. Tsing Hui stepped forward. When he was 100 meters away from the flying sword that fell to the ground slowly vibrated again. It flew up and quickly returned, hovering in front of Tsing Hui. Tsing Hui leaped and stepped on the flying sword. After slightly controlling his balance, he had already broken through the air, rolling up the sword chi, and went straight into the sky. Fast, fast, fast. As Tsing Hui's body and the flying sword continued to resonate and integrate, the speed of his flying sword also continued to increase. 100 kilometers per hour, 150 kilometers per hour, 200 kilometers per hour, 250 kilometers per hour, 300 kilometers per hour. When the speed reached 300 kilometers per hour, Tsing Hui already felt that the integration between his body and the flying sword had become extremely unstable. The strong wind blew and almost lifted him off the flying sword. He had no choice but to descend to 250 kilometers per hour. Even so, the problem of the integration between the two still required him to use all his energy to maintain the flying sword. He had no time to care about other things. His body stood on the sword and seemed to be on the verge of collapse. It was not until the speed dropped below 200 kilometers per hour that he stabilized his body and resisted the wind. As for the easy flying sword, the speed was only 150 kilometers per hour. A fourth-order upper-grade flying sword. With sword intent as the guide, the power of the attack it shoots out is equivalent to 23rd to 24th order, which is similar to the sword chi I shoot out with the green firmament sword. Its advantage is that its attack range is up to 100 meters, and it can catch the enemy off guard. Its flying speed is 300 kilometers per hour, and its normal speed is 150 kilometers per hour. In one morning, Tsing Hui had already memorized the various changes of this flying sword. Third-level upper-grade divine weapon, sword Qi Sor, named Qing Shao. You can enter and exit Qing Ming, traverse the Sea of Clouds, named Qing Xian. Tsing Hui put away the sword and returned to 100 Desolation City. However, just as Tsing Hui left the outskirts of the desolate Cloud Mountain range and was less than 5 kilometers away from the 100 Desolation City, his figure slightly paused. In the next moment, the treasured sword in his hand was suddenly unsheathed. Swish! Sword chi rampaged. Oh no, we've been discovered. No need to hide anymore. Kill. At the same time Tsing Hui drew his sword, 3 masked silhouettes simultaneously shouted and flew out from the forest. For a moment, Zhen Qi shot out in all directions, and dense sword shadows appeared. Bam! Gold and iron collided, and sparks burst out. Tsing Hui's unsheathed sword suddenly exploded the moment it collided with the masked man's sword. The Zhen Qi that escaped immediately twisted the grass on the ground into powder. Zhen Qi realm? In an instant, Tsing Hui had already determined the cultivation level of the attacker. When the Zhen Qi realm attacker blocked the sword chi from Qing Shao, the remaining 2 shouted at the same time. Dense sword light strangled and twisted, as fast as flowing light. The sharpness of each sword made people's hair stand on end. It was enough to instantly twist several strong warriors in the blood-changing realm into powder. Peak of the Awakening Realm. 1 Zhen Qi realm and 2 Peak of the Awakening Realm. In particular, the weapon in the hands of that true Qi realm expert was shockingly a level 2 divine weapon. Furthermore, the divine weapon's grade was at least of level 2 middle grade. The 2 Peak of the Awakening Realm warriors roared. Their sword Qi was like frost, and the tip of their swords was unbelievably fast. Even though Tsing Hui clearly understood the trajectory of the 2 swords and tried his best to dodge, the limitation of his cultivation level made it impossible for him to outrun the opponent's sword light. One of the swords cut his shoulder, and blood spurted out. Buzz! Buzz! After being hit, Tsing Hui's sword shook violently. Taking advantage of the sword chi shooting out from Qing Shao, he suddenly jumped into the air and retreated, trying to escape the encirclement formed by the 3 people. He's just relying on the advantage of a divine weapon. I just need to restrain the edge of his divine weapon. He's just a blood-changing realm cultivator who hasn't awakened yet. I can't let him escape the encirclement and unleash the power of his divine weapon. In a spurt of energy, kill. The leader of the Zhenqi realm warriors roared and rushed forward, not giving Tsing Hui a chance to escape the encirclement. The other two peak of the awakening realm warriors followed closely behind. Their sword chi flashed, and with the speed of their swords, they completely blocked Tsing Hui's path of retreat. After all, the Qing Shao sword only increased Tsing Hui's attack power. Besides attacking, a cultivator also had defense, speed, and even spirit. Not to mention defense, the speed of their swords and movements were all above Tsing Hui's. If it weren't for the sword chi shooting out from Qing Shao sword that made them wary, Tsing Hui would have died under the attacks of the three Immortality Realm warriors. Seeing that the three of them were about to form an encirclement again, Tsing Hui knew that once the three of them attacked together again, even if he had the advantage of Qing Shao sword, he would still die in the end. True Chi Realm. Only by killing this true energy realm expert and freeing the edge of the green firmament sword from the shackles of this true energy realm expert could he truly reverse the situation. With this thought, Tsing Hui's eyes shone with a divine light. The essence, chi, and spirit of his body condensed at the same time, turning into a brilliant sword will. It was like a scorching sun, shining in all directions. In the next moment, the tip of the Qingxian sword tore through the air with a sharp whistling sound. Before the leader of the group of True Qi realm experts could react, it shot out explosively. What is this? Not good. The leader of the realm of True Qi let out a startled roar and tried his best to dodge the explosive sword. However, the distance between the two was too short. The Qingxian sword was also activated by the sword will and was as fast as flowing light. The moment it shot out, it directly pierced through the forehead of the realm of True Qi. Its speed and sharpness directly shattered the head of the realm of True Qi in one fell swoop. Supreme Elder! How could this be? Seeing the True Qi realm warrior suddenly shot to death, the two awakening realm warriors who surrounded Tsing Hui could not help but exclaim at the same time. However, Tsing Hui's sword was not slow. After the Qingxian sword burst out with the boiling sword will, it suddenly turned and pierced through the head of the other awakening realm warrior. He did not give him any time to breathe and killed him on the spot. At the same time, the Qing Shao sword in his hand was like a dragon swimming in the sea or a tiger in the forest. Dense sword chi shot out. Even though the awakening realm warrior who bore the brunt of the attack tried his best to dodge, he was still instantly pierced by 3 sword chi, leaving 3 bloody holes in his body. Flying sword! Flying sword! It's a flying sword! The awakening realm warrior who was pierced by the 3 sword chi let out a shrill cry. His eyes were filled with fear. Tsing Hui moved forward with his sword. The sword chi on the Qing Shao sword soared into the sky and directly cut off one of the awakening realm warrior's arms and legs. The intense pain caused him to let out another shrill scream. After crippling the awakening realm warrior, Tsing Hui pointed at his shoulder to stop the bleeding. Then he went directly in front of the awakening realm warrior and used his sword to remove the man's mask. Huh! Seeing the man under the mask, Tsing Hui seemed to have thought of something. Wan Jianxian. At this moment, the one who appeared in front of Tsing Hui was the eldest disciple of the 10,000 Swords Peak, the future leader of the sect, Wan Jianxian. He lay on the ground, screaming in pain. Looking at the flying sword floating beside Tsing Hui, his eyes were filled with despair. Flying sword? You actually have a flying sword? The lowest grade of a flying sword is level 4. Even if its lethality is inferior to a divine weapon of the same level, its value is comparable to a level 5 divine weapon. You actually, Luo Tianying is already a cripple. He doesn't have the ability to go against me anymore. So, this is your 10,000 Swords Peak stubbornness to come for the Qing Shao sword in my hand. Tsing Hui looked at Wan Jianxian with a cold expression. If he hadn't stealthily entered the outskirts of the Yunhuang mountain range to refine the flying sword, he probably would have been stopped by the 10,000 Swords Peak a few days ago. At that time, before he could refine the flying sword, he would have been surrounded by a true energy realm expert with a level 2 divine weapon and 2 peak awakening realm experts. It was very likely that he would have died on the spot. Tsing Hui, don't kill me. I am the eldest disciple of the 10,000 Swords Peak, the future leader of the 10,000 Swords Peak. Now that our leader and grand elder are dead, I am the only successor of the 10,000 Swords Peak. As long as you don't kill me, I can lead the entire 10,000 Swords Peak to pledge allegiance to you and serve you. 10,000 Swords Peak. Xing Hui couldn't help but think of borrowing the power of the 10,000 Swords Peak to search for Zhou Buwei. The 10,000 Swords Peak was a huge force within the Lorraine Kingdom, second only to the Lorraine Kingdom's royal family. This method could work, but, without you, I believe that I can still control the 10,000 Swords Peak. When you planned to attack me, you should have thought of the price you had to pay. After saying this, Xing Hui once again unsheathed the Qing Shao sword. There was a flash of blood, and this genius of the 10,000 Swords Peak was directly beheaded. The 10,000 Swords Peak. Xing Hui looked in the direction of the 100 Desolation City, then turned around and headed straight for the 10,000 Swords Peak. Chapter 57. The 10,000 Swords Mountain was close to the Cloud Wilderness mountain range. The entire Lorraine Kingdom. No, it was more accurate to say that the Eastern Cloud Empire and the other countries that could threaten the rule of the local royal family were all established close to the Cloud Wilderness mountain range or the sea. The advantage of this was that if they offended the Lorraine royal family, the Eastern Cloud royal family, or other top forces, they could quickly escape into the mountains or the sea, making it impossible for the royal family to reach them. It was the same for the 10,000 Swords Mountain. The 10,000 Swords Mountain was originally established in the Cloud Wilderness mountain range, but as their strength continued to grow, and 300 years ago, they produced a few immortal stage 3 Qi refinement cultivators. Their ambitions gradually grew out of control, and later, a war broke out between them and the Lorraine royal family for control of the Lorraine Kingdom. But at that time, the Lorraine royal family had not yet declined, and they were friends with many of the Hunyuan Heaven sect's deacons and disciples. They summoned a few top Qi refinement cultivators and defeated the 10,000 Swords Mountain, forcing them to retreat into their ancestral land. A few decades ago, it seemed that they could no longer survive in the Cloud Wilderness mountain range, so they made use of the marriage of the sect master's daughter to the Lorraine royal family to negotiate peace. But even so, their glory was gone forever. Xing Hui traveled for 3 days and arrived at the 10,000 Swords mountain range's outskirts. Relying on the accumulation of the past and the dozen or so awakening cultivators in the sect, the 10,000 Swords mountain had developed to a considerable scale. The mountain gate was tall and grand, and there was a bluestone mountain path that led to the top of the mountain. Many students spontaneously gathered at the foot of the mountain path, and after a few decades, it had evolved into a large town with a population of over 100,000 people. Xing Hui stepped onto the 10,000 Swords mountain. He did not waste any time talking nonsense with the 10,000 Swords mountain disciples. He directly jumped up the mountain under the shocked gazes of the many students. Who dares to trespass on our 10,000 Swords mountain? The guarding disciples on the mountain path shouted and stepped forward with their swords in an attempt to stop him. But Xing Hui had come to destroy the 10,000 Swords mountain, so how could he show mercy? The azure firmament sword trembled, and sword chi shot out. 2 10,000 Swords mountain disciples who tried to stop him had their heads pierced by the sword chi, and they died on the spot. When the remaining disciples of the myriad Swords Peak saw this, they were all horrified. Sword chi. Sword chi. Sword chi. This is a true Qi stage expert who has achieved the true Qi stage from the Void Refinement realm. A great enemy was coming. Quickly informed the sect leader. For a moment, the entire entrance of the 10,000 Swords mountain fell into a panic. All the disciples retreated when they saw Qing Su charge up. Even the cultivators who had originally come to visit the 10,000 Swords mountain in an attempt to join them were astounded. They looked at Qing Su, who charged up with his sword like he was a god. Xing Hui leapt up, not wasting any time on the ordinary disciples. Not long after, he had already charged into the main hall of the 10,000 Swords mountain. At that moment, the panicked cries at the foot of the mountain attracted the attention of the 10,000 Swords Peak's elders. Two Awakening Realm powerhouses quickly moved to the front of the main hall. However, when the two men saw Tsing Hui's appearance, their expressions changed drastically. Cho Tsing Hui. It was Cho Tsing Hui. How could he be here? Didn't the sect leader, Grand Elder, and young sect leader team up to kill him? How could he? Oh no, he's coming for us. Retreat. The two Awakening Realm powerhouses had heard of Tsing Hui's impressive battle achievements. When they saw Tsing Hui charging towards them, they quickly fled. Although the 10,000 Swords Mountain was stronger than the third prince, they only had one true energy realm powerhouse at the Void Refinement Realm and a dozen or so Awakening Realm powerhouses. With the Azure Firmament Sword, ordinary Awakening Realm powerhouses were no match for Tsing Hui. Following the death of the three strongest powerhouses of the 10,000 Swords Mountain, the remaining dozen or so Awakening Realm powerhouses did not have the courage to fight against Tsing Hui. They were so frightened that their souls almost left their bodies, and they fled in all directions. Tsing Hui had come to exterminate the 10,000 Swords Mountain. Seeing the Awakening Realm powerhouses turn and flee without hesitation, how could he let them do as they wished? As he gathered his essence, energy, and spirit, a brilliant sword intent suddenly bloomed in his mind. The next moment, the Azure Profound Sword's sword light whistled and shot out. The two Awakening Realm powerhouses who had only fled a few dozen meters were killed by the sword light. They died on the spot. After killing the two awakened experts, Qing Su shot out once again. Under the stimulation of the sword intent, the Qingxian sword constantly whistled and shot out around him. Any disciple of the Myriad Swords Mountain who saw him use the Qingxian sword were all killed, causing the area within 100 meters of him to become a domain of death. From the Awakened Realm to the Blood Purification Realm, Organs Refinement Realm, and Marrow Cleansing Realm, no one could withstand the might of a single strike from him. Their heads were all pierced, dying on the spot. After a long while, after killing 12 Awakening Realm powerhouses and hundreds of elite 10,000 Swords Mountain disciples in the Marrow Cleansing, Viscera Refining, and Blood Changing realms, Tsing Hui felt his essence, energy, and spirit weaken. He stopped circulating the sword intent and put away the Azure Profound Sword. Then he continued to stride forward, heading toward the core building of the 10,000 Swords Mountain. When he arrived at the sect master's courtyard, he saw a middle-aged man in his 30s with an Awakening Realm cultivation. He was snatching some precious items and was about to rush out the door. When he saw Tsing Hui, who happened to be walking up the stairs, his eyes were filled with disbelief. How can you be so fast, Clang? The Azure Profound Sword in Tsing Hui's hand trembled, and he was about to charge forward. However, the Awakening Realm powerhouse threw away the precious items in his hands in an extremely cowardly manner. He actually knelt in front of Tsing Hui and shouted, "Don't kill me! Don't kill me! Prince Tsing Hui, I am willing to submit to you. As long as Prince Tsing Hui is willing to let me go, I am willing to lead Prince Tsing Hui to the 10,000 Swords Mountain's ancestral land and offer you all the treasures we have accumulated over the centuries." All the treasures we have accumulated over the centuries, Tsing Hui thought of Wu Yao. He had found a Dao vessel on Wu Yao's body. From this, it could be seen that Dao vessels did not appear in a regular pattern. At least, until now, no one knew why Dao vessels would appear. Since that was the case, he could not be sure whether or not Dao vessels existed in the 10,000 Swords Mountain's ancestral land. If he could find some Dao vessels in the 10,000 Swords Mountain's ancestral land, he would have a chance of choosing a high-tier divine scripture when he traded with Sword Master Bai Heng. That way, his chances of awakening a divine beast bloodline would greatly increase. Prince Tsing Hui, when the sect master convened the Elders' Council a few days ago, I did my best to oppose them attacking you. The 10,000 Swords Mountain is no longer as glorious as it used to be. How could we offend Prince Tsing Hui and Miss Naylan? Fortunately, Prince Tsing Hui is safe and sound. Otherwise, when Miss Naylan returns, even if our 10,000 Swords Mountain obtains Prince Tsing Hui's Stage 3 divine weapon, what awaits our 10,000 Swords Mountain will be destruction. Take me to the 10,000 Swords Mountain's ancestral land. Yes. The sect master, Grand Elder, and 10,000 Swords Mountain did not know what was good for them and dared to offend Prince Tsing Hui. However, we definitely did not have the slightest intention of offending Prince Tsinghui. Now that we have made a grave mistake, the only thing we can do is try our best to compensate and appease Prince Tsinghui's anger. What are you holding in your hand? Tsinghui did not wait for him to reply. He stepped forward and swept his gaze over the books. Among the swordsmanship, secret techniques, and cultivation methods, he even saw a supreme true technique. This is our 10,000 Swords Mountain's ultimate technique, the 10,000 Swords Vajra art. This lowly one, Zhou, is willing to offer this supreme true technique to Prince Tsinghui. Tsinghui did not accept this supreme true technique. Where is the treasury of the 10,000 Swords Mountain? The more valuable treasures of the 10,000 Swords Mountain are all sent to the ancestral land for safekeeping. The ones left outside the mountain gate are all ordinary items. Lead the way. Yes, please follow me, Prince Tsinghui. The ancestral land of the 10,000 Swords Mountain is in the Yunhuang mountain range. It's 400 kilometers away from here. The middle-aged man cautiously complied and led the way, as silent as a cicada in winter. At this time, the remaining awakening realm powerhouses of the 10,000 Swords Mountain had either fled or been killed by Tsinghui. Even if these awakening realm powerhouses of the 10,000 Swords Mountain could be reunited in the end, the organization would not be as glorious as it was before. It could be said that in less than half an hour, the 10,000 Swords Mountain, a top organization of the Lorraine Kingdom, had been single-handedly destroyed by him. The 10,000 Swords Mountain was different from the Demon Hunters Guild branch, which only had one awakening realm powerhouse overseeing it. It was a colossus that had immortal stage and true energy stage powerhouses overseeing it. During its most glorious period, it had even produced powerhouses who had refined their chi into energy. It had a history of several hundred years. If news of the destruction of such an organization that was second only to the Lorraine Kingdom's royal family spread, it would definitely cause an unprecedented uproar in the Lorraine Kingdom. The entire Lorraine Kingdom would be stirred up by Tsinghui's name. Chapter 58. 400 kilometers was not very far, but it was not an easy journey if one considered the fact that it was mainly mountainous. Perhaps they could travel on their swords in green ruins, so they would only need around 2 hours to reach their destination, but Zhou was only an awakening cultivator. Affected by his speed, it was already the afternoon of the next day when the two of them actually arrived at the ancestral grounds of the Myriad Swords Mountain. The ancestral grounds of the Myriad Swords Mountain were below a mountain. It was not strange for various mountain peaks to appear in the desolate Cloud Mountain range, but the mountain peak in front of him had suddenly appeared in the middle of a forest. Even though it looked like it was only 500 to 600 meters tall, and the area it occupied could not be considered wide, it appeared extremely awkward, as though there was a mysterious force pulling the mountain peak out of the ground, and it stood in the middle of the forest. Up ahead is the ancestral grounds of our Myriad Swords Mountain, Zhou said carefully to the strange mountain as he led the way. Tsinghui stared at the mountain for a while. He could vaguely sense that there was something strange about the mountain. It seemed like a sword blade. Zhou seemed to be able to guess Tsinghui's doubts. He hurriedly explained, "This mountain looks like a sword blade. The name of our Myriad Swords Mountain comes from this sword-shaped mountain. This is the birthplace of our Myriad Swords Mountain." It said that the founding ancestor of our Myriad Swords Mountain meditated under this mountain for 10 days and nights. He suddenly comprehended sword intent and cultivated sword aura, reaching the 3rd level of eternal life. From then on, he founded the Myriad Swords Mountain and began our glorious legacy. But now, the Myriad Swords Mountain is no longer as prosperous as it was in the past. Zhou face became gloomy when he reached there. Tsinghui did not reply. He continued forward slowly. In reality, he could already see many traces of human activity along the way. There were also many buildings like pavilions that had been abandoned for a long time. However, as the Myriad Swords Mountain had shifted its focus to the outskirts of the desolate Cloud Mountain range, the ancestral grounds lacked effective maintenance, which was why the pavilions gradually became abandoned. If I've guessed correctly, There must be many experts in the ancestral grounds of the Myriad Swords Mountain. Don't tell me the person waiting for me is a refined and Anaha realm expert. Tsing Hui said as he looked at the faintly discernible buildings in front of him. These words immediately made Zhou Gi's heart tighten. He hurriedly explained, No, our 10,000 Swords Mountain only has one true energy realm existence, and that is the Supreme Elder. If we really had several true energy realm experts, we wouldn't have taken the initiative to show weakness to the Lorraine royal family and even let the sect leader's daughter marry into the royal family to seek peace. Although there are elders in the ancestral land, there are two seniors at the peak of immortality realm. One of them is here in seclusion to break through to the true energy realm, and the other is in charge of guarding the ancestral land. Tsing Hui did not say anything else. Even if he were to encounter a true Qi practitioner, he would not necessarily be afraid. When both the Green Firmament Sword and the Green Profound Sword were unleashed, the number of true Qi realm experts who could block them could be counted on one hand. The ancestral land of the 10,000 Swords Mountain was often used as a last resort. When the 10,000 Swords Mountain was forced into a corner, the ancestral land naturally ushered in a period of prosperity. However, cultivators were also ordinary people. How many of them could really live in seclusion in the mountains and forests? As the 10,000 Swords Mountain re-established its mountain gate on the outskirts of the Yunhuang mountain range, 99% of the disciples of the 10,000 Swords Mountain had left the ancestral land. Currently, there were less than 20 people living in the ancestral land. As Zhou Gi said, there were only two powerhouses at the peak of the awakening realm guarding the ancestral land. It was precisely because there were so few people that many buildings were gradually abandoned deep in the mountains because no one lived in them. Elder Zhou? Elder Zhou, why are you here? Before the two of them stepped into the ancestral land, the two disciples in charge of patrolling had already greeted them. Go and invite Elder Yun Feng and Elder Yun Liao here. Tell them that Prince Tsing Hui has come to visit. Zhou Gi wiped the non-existent sweat on his forehead and hurriedly said, The two disciples did not know what was going on, but they still responded. One of them led the way in front, while the other returned to the sparsely populated buildings in front of them. There's no need. I've already sensed the location of the two elders, Tsing Hui said. Then he suddenly moved and went straight to the core buildings of the ancestral land of the 10,000 Swords Mountain. If there were really powerhouses at the true Qi realm in the 10,000 Swords Mountain, he would naturally take the initiative and kill them before they could react with the advantage of the Green Cloud Sword and Qingshen Sword. He would not let these people know in advance that the experts of the ancestral land of the 10,000 Swords Mountain would ambush him. Prince Tsing Hui, please wait for me, Zhou Gi said and hurriedly followed him. Fortunately, there were no powerhouses at the true Qi realm in the ancestral land of the 10,000 Swords Mountain. Although Tsing Hui had attracted the attention of the two guardian elders of the ancestral land, judging from the aura emitted by the two guardian elders, they were indeed in the immortality realm. It was only because they had been cultivating for a long time that their aura was quite thick and long. Who are you? Zhou Gi? Are you the one who brought him here? How can he be so rude and barge into the ancestral land? Soon, the two elders, Yun Feng and Yun Liao, came forward and scolded Tsing Hui and Zhou Gi sternly. Zhou Gi hurriedly explained with a bitter smile, "This is Prince Tsing Hui." Prince Tsing Hui? Yun Feng and Yun Liao were slightly shocked when they heard this name. Then, their expressions changed drastically. Zhou Gi met Elder Yun Liao's angry gaze and said in a deep voice, "A wise man submits to circumstances." Elders, even the sect leader, great elder, and junior sect leader couldn't do anything to Prince Tsing Hui even when they worked together. Instead, they were killed by Prince Tsing Hui. If we resist, we will only die. Fortunately, Prince Tsing Hui is magnanimous and is willing to give us a way out. As long as we can offer the treasures our sect has collected over the years to Prince Tsing Hui is willing to spare us. Therefore, please don't make a mistake. You, Yun Feng and Yun Liao looked sullen and angry, but more than that, they were unwilling to accept it. Are the great elder, sect leader, and junior sect leader really dead? The great elder's sword has fallen into Prince Tsinghui's hands. How can it be fake? Zhou Gi said. Yun Feng and Yun Liao exchanged glances with each other, their faces bitter. In the end, the two could only step aside and salute Tsinghui. Thank you, Prince Tsinghui, for sparing our lives. Gi, take Prince Tsinghui to the rare treasure cave. Zhou Gi answered respectfully after receiving the order. Then, he gestured to Tsinghui with his hand. Prince Tsinghui, please follow me. Tsinghui glanced at Yun Feng and Yun Liao, then looked at Zhou Gi. He instinctively felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't tell what the problem was. He immediately followed Zhou Gi without saying a word, heading towards the cave behind the buildings that seemed to have been dug through the mountain. As the group stepped into the cave, Tsinghui immediately felt a faint sense of oppression coming from the cave. This sense of oppression didn't come from some top mighty figure in the cave, but from a kind of pressure on the spiritual level. Not the spiritual, but the sword intent. The pressure on the sword intent level. There's a divine weapon that contains sword intent in the ancestral land of the 10,000 Swords Mountain? Tsinghui's eyes lit up slightly. Before he had obtained the Tai sword, he could only generate sword intent when his fighting spirit was stimulated and his energy, qi, and spirit rose to the extreme along with his fighting spirit. Later, with the help of the Tai sword, he was able to stabilize the state of sword intent and use it freely. Unfortunately, the sword intent in the Tai sword was limited. After he could use it freely, its effect was greatly reduced, and it could no longer bring much of a tempering effect to his sword intent. But now, he couldn't see the divine sword, but he could already feel the invisible pressure. Just how powerful was the sword intent contained in that divine sword? The core of the 10,000 Swords Mountain's ancestral land is in front of us. Many of our treasures are in there. Prince Tsinghui, please. Zhou Gi gestured with his hand as he spoke. Tsinghui couldn't wait to see the sword intent contained in the divine weapon inside the cave. He immediately leaped and went straight into the cave. However, just as Tsinghui was distracted by the sword intent in the cave and relaxed his mind 100 meters into the cave, Zhou Gi suddenly retreated. He exerted his late-stage awakening realm speed to the extreme and rushed out of the cave as fast as he could. The sudden change made Tsinghui keenly aware of the danger, and he quickly retreated. However, even though he had the green cloud sword in his hand, and his sword chi was comparable to that of a true chi realm expert, he couldn't compare to a late awakening realm expert in terms of speed. Especially a late awakening realm expert who was proficient in movement techniques. In addition, Zhou Gi had the upper hand. In the blink of an eye, Zhou Gi had rushed dozens of meters away, almost out of the cave. Then, he hit a mechanism outside the cave with force, and the cave corridor rumbled. Pieces of dragon snapping stones quickly slid down and completely sealed the cave. Cho Tsinghui, so what if you have a divine weapon? In the end, you still fall into my hands. The ancestral land is the last foundation of the 10,000 Swords Mountain. It has killed great enemies for us more than once. Today, you will also die here. Outside the broken dragon stones, Zhou Gi's laughter, as if he had succeeded in his scheme, was suddenly heard. You think a mere cave can stop me? You underestimate the power of a third-stage divine weapon. Tsinghui looked at the sealed escape route in front of him with a cold expression. He stabbed out with the green cloud sword, and the stone in front of him was torn open as if it was tofu. A cave can't stop you, but as long as you can't dig through the mountain wall in a day and get 1,000 meters away from this mountain peak, when the power in the cave erupts, you will die. The power in the cave? Tsinghui's heart skipped a beat. A cave or even an ordinary trap couldn't trap an immortal-level expert like him, but if there was some kind of mysterious power in the cave, Cho Tsinghui, wait for your death in the cave. After a day, we will raise the broken dragon stones. By then, the third-stage divine weapon and fourth-stage flying sword in your hands will be mine. I, Cho Tsinghui, will use these two divine weapons to ascend to the throne of the 10,000 Swords Mountain's leader and eventually overthrow the Lorraine royal family's rule and dominate the Lorraine kingdom. I have to thank you for all of this, Chapter 59. Tsing Hui looked at the mountain wall in front of him. With the green firmament sword's sharpness, it would not be difficult to dig through the mountain wall, but it would take at least 2 to 3 days. And according to Zhou Gi, there was a mysterious energy in the cave that would erupt every day. That was their true killing move. The reason the Myriad Swords Mountain had been able to survive until now despite having offended the Lorraine royal family was because of this mysterious energy in their ancestral land. It had helped them kill invaders time and time again, allowing them to survive. That mysterious force could even kill a Qi refinement cultivator who had formed gang. Tsing Hui's expression turned grave. He had to get 1,000 meters away from the mountain before that mysterious energy erupted. Digging through the mountain wall was no longer practical. Tsing Hui immediately turned around and walked into the cave. Even though Zhou Gi had lied to him, there was one thing he was right about. This cave was truly a treasure trove used by the Myriad Swords Mountain to store many precious treasures. As he stepped into the cave, many precious pills, ores, divine weapons, and armors appeared before his eyes. However, the Myriad Swords Mountain would definitely make full use of the truly top-tier natural treasures and convert them into strength. The rest were items that would not be used for the time being. For example, top-tier ores that had yet to be forged into divine weapons, top-tier spirit herbs that had yet to mature, and so on. There were many items here. Tsing Hui scanned them one by one and then moved them all into his personal dimension. He had been complaining that his personal dimension was too empty, so he decided to empty out the treasury of the Myriad Swords Mountain to make up for it. The only thing he regretted was that he did not find any items that could carry the Dao in these treasures. This was to be expected. If items that could carry the Dao could be obtained so easily, no one would be willing to trade rank 5, rank 6, or even rank 7 divine weapons and armors for them. Just what kind of danger is hidden in this cave? Qing Su circled around the cave and his gaze landed on the center of the cave in the end. The center of the cave was quite empty, like a large basketball court, with a diameter of more than 30 meters. However, the center of the cave was not an empty space, but a stone pillar. At first glance, it was about 3 meters in diameter, as if it was supporting the entire cave. The only strange thing about this cave is this stone pillar. Tsing Hui scanned the stone pillar for a moment. In the next moment, the green firmament sword was suddenly unsheathed. The sharp edge of the sword carried bursts of sword chi as it slashed at the stone pillar. Bang! When the green firmament sword and the stone pillar collided, it actually emitted the sound of metal clashing. Tsing Hui felt the green firmament sword in his hand fiercely shake, and the rebounding force forced him to continuously retreat. However, the stone pillar in front of him actually only had a fingernail-sized stone fragment fall off. Before Tsing Hui could figure out what kind of material this stone pillar was made of to be able to withstand the sharpness of a level 3 divine weapon, an astonishing pressure was rapidly brewing on the stone pillar that was under attack, directly affecting his mental state. Once this power was unleashed, it seemed like it would be able to completely crush his mental state. This is the sword intent that I felt earlier? Tsing Hui's gaze suddenly fell on the stone pillar. The sword intent he had sensed outside the cave was far stronger than the Tai sword. It actually came from this stone pillar? Seeing that the power of the sword intent contained in the stone pillar was becoming more and more condensed, as if a great terror was about to descend from the sky and annihilate all living things with an unstoppable force, Tsing Hui's pupils constricted, and the essence, energy, and spirit in his body suddenly erupted. In his mental world, a brilliant sword intent brazenly condensed, like the rising sun, shining brightly. Buzz buzz. Almost at the same time that Tsing Hui raised his sword intent to resist with all his might, the sword intent that had been brewing in the stone pillar had already exploded. Majestic. Vast. Blazing. Berserk. This sword intent was like an annihilating spiritual storm, sweeping in all directions, bringing with it the power to burn the heavens and boil the seas. Before Tsing Hui could react, the rising sun in his mental world was like a volcano that had encountered doomsday, drowning in the surging magma. The brilliant sword light was instantly bombarded and shattered in all directions. Bang! The scorching sun exploded. In his mental world, the scorching sun completely erupted in the magma torrent, releasing endless sword lights that illuminated the four seas. The brilliant scorching sun seemed to be trying to evaporate the magma torrent and annihilate it into nothingness. However, even though the scorching sun erupted with endless brilliance under the life and death pressure of the magma torrent and burned the vast magma ocean into nothingness, the power of the magma torrent was too majestic and grand. The area that was reduced to nothingness only lasted for a moment before more destructive torrents surged in from all directions, filling the void that was burned and annihilated by the brilliant scorching sun. Once again, the void was completely filled and drowned the erupting scorching sun. Rumble! Sing Hui's mind was shaken. His essence, energy, and spirit almost completely dissipated the moment the brilliant scorching sun in his mental world was shattered and drowned by the monstrous magma tsunami. The violent blow not only made him sweat all over due to the severe damage to his essence, energy, and spirit, but also caused him to lose control of his body due to the loss of his spirit, causing him to bleed from his 7 orifices. If this continued, his sword intent would collapse. Sword intent was actually a combination of a cultivator's essence, energy, and spirit that had been condensed to the extreme. It could even be considered the source of life. If one's spirit collapsed, one might only end up in a vegetative state. In the future, one could still wake up if one obtained a treasure that could repair one's spirit. On the other hand, once one's sword intent collapsed, one's spirit, essence, energy, and blood would dissipate at the same time. Only death would await one. At the moment of life and death, Sing Hui's mind was blessed. His rank 2 sword path talent allowed him to purify his sword intent to the extreme. The brilliant scorching sun, which was originally trying to resist the magma torrent, instantly turned into a flame spirit that directly merged with the magma torrent. Even so, the torrential torrent swept over, causing the sea of flames formed by his sword intent to be like a lonely boat in the wind. It could be annihilated by the monstrous waves stirred up by the magma torrent at any time. Fortunately, the sword intent that erupted from the stone pillar only existed for a short period of time. As the sword intent's explosion ended, the magma torrent in his mental world slowly dissipated, and the weak candlelight that was about to be extinguished finally tenaciously held on. Phew! Sing Hui let out a long breath. An unprecedented weakness welled up in his heart. The extreme consumption of his blood essence, energy, and spirit made him want to lie on the ground motionlessly at this moment. Sharpening the sword intent was to forge a new sword. If using the great one-sword intent to sharpen his spirit was equivalent to using a whetstone to sharpen his sword intent, then the sword intent on the stone pillar at this moment was equivalent to using a giant hammer to refine his sword intent. But it was not just a refine. It was as if his sword intent had been thrown into a scalding iron furnace to be remolded. If his sword intent could withstand the pain of being reforged, it would be molded more perfectly. If it could not, naturally, it could only turn into molten iron and dissipate. Fortunately, he made it through. Sing Hui closed his eyes. If it were an ordinary person, the severe consumption of energy would be equivalent to a great loss of vitality, and it would take at least 3 to 5 days to recover. However, his rank 2 recovery characteristic once again displayed its amazing effect at this moment. He could even recover in a short period of time after releasing his own body, let alone a simple loss of energy. In less than 4 hours, Sing Hui had recovered his vitality. Then he immediately swallowed the elixir to replenish his energy and adjusted his energy, trying in vain to restore it to its peak. The impact of the sword intent just now had made him understand that the mysterious force that Zhou Gi mentioned that could kill him was this sword intent. This sword intent needed about 30 hours to brew to a peak, and then it would erupt involuntarily. Once it was attacked, the brewing sword intent would erupt ahead of time. Moreover, the sword intent that erupted due to an attack was more lethal than the sword intent that was accumulated once every 30 hours without an owner. If it were not for the fact that the characteristics of this sword intent were vaguely similar to Tsing Hui's Eastern Sun sword intent, And if it were not for Tsing Hui's rank 2 sword Dao talent that allowed him to immediately discern the characteristics of this sword intent and hide his own sword intent in the attack of this sword intent so that the two could merge into one as much as possible, perhaps his sword intent would have collapsed just now. It should be known that apart from the fact that his sword intent was compatible with the sword intent that burst out from the stone pillar and his rank 2 sword Dao talent, his mental strength had already reached rank 34, which was not inferior to a Qi refinement expert at all. Yet, he was almost defeated by the first wave of sword intent. From this, it could be seen that if other Qi refinement experts had stepped into this cave, they would have died no matter how many of them came. It was no wonder that Myriad Swords Peak could rely on this ancestral land to destroy powerful enemies time and time again. However, Tsing Hui's eyes flashed faintly. The sword intent that was brewing and erupting from the stone pillar might be dangerous for him, but it could also be an opportunity. An opportunity that could transform his mind and ultimately awaken himself. Chapter 60. I was just testing the stone pillar, and the sword essence that burst out was about to break my limit. If I go all out, a gleam flashed through Qing Su's eyes. The next moment, he glanced outside the cave. His spirit had transformed, and his sword essence had broken the limit. It was impossible for him to be calm. Before that, Zhou Gi, Yun Liao, and Yun Feng, the 3 awakening realm masters, had to be dealt with. Time passed as he waited. 23 hours later, the sword essence reached its peak and burst out. However, since Qing Su had made ample preparations, he managed to get through it unscathed. It wasn't just that. When he resisted the violent and blazing energy within this sword insight, his understanding of his own sword insight had become even deeper, and it faintly arrived at the edge of transformation. If he was able to grasp this opportunity and ceaselessly cultivate, then even if he didn't rely on the pressure of the sword insight within the stone pillar, it would still be possible for his understanding of sword insight to once again ascend to a new level after 3 to 5 years. Haha, there's no movement inside. That guy is dead for sure. Our 10,000 Swords Peak has encountered many dangers over the years, but without exception, as long as the mysterious stone pillar in the ancestral land exists, any enemy who invades our 10,000 Swords Peak will die without exception. Moreover, the treasures they bring with them will also benefit us. This time is no exception. Even if Shui Qingshu's cultivation is only at the awakening realm, so what if he has reached the 3rd level of the longevity realm, the Qi cultivation aura realm? In front of the mysterious stone pillar in our ancestral land, he'll still die. Zhou Gi, Yun Feng, and Yun Liao's voices came from outside the cave. I wonder if the sword will from the mysterious stone pillar in our ancestral land can kill someone on level 4 of the immortal level. Level 4 of the immortal level is considered the top in any organization. Some rich people even have leveled 4 god weapons. If we can get our hands on a level 4 god weapon, our Myriad Swords Peak can replace the Lorraine royal family and become the ruler of Lorraine. The 4 realms of immortal level can achieve the unity of spirit and Qi, the stability of the mind, and the unity of spirit and essence. It is almost impossible for them to be killed by pure sword essence, saber essence, spear essence, and fist essence. Even the suzerains of the 10 sacred sects can't kill the 4 realms of immortal level with their minds. Let's not think too much about this. Let's open the dragon-breaking stone and get the 3rd level magic weapon and the flying sword first. Alright, I'll open the dragon-snapping stone now. As the voice rang out, the dragon-snapping stone that sealed off the passageway of the cave slowly rose under the effect of the mysterious mechanism. As the dragon-severing stone rose into the air, the 3 elders of the Myriad Swords Peak impatiently swarmed in, attempting to take the Grade 3 divine weapon and Grade 4 flying sword in Tsing Hui's hands as their own. However, as soon as the 3 elders stepped into the passageway and saw Tsing Hui waiting at the back of the passageway, the joy on their faces instantly froze. Tsing Hui, you didn't die? Yun Feng, Zhou Gi, and the others felt their hearts turn cold. Sorry to disappoint you, Tsing Hui said indifferently. Swoosh. The next moment, the Qingxian sword suddenly appeared beside him, turning into a sharp sword light that shot out. Before the two elders who had just recovered from their shock could react, the Qingxian sword had already pierced through their heads. "Spare me! Prince Xinghui, spare me!" The remaining Zhou Yi screamed in fear. He immediately knelt down and kowtowed, begging for mercy. "I know the location of the real treasure of our myriad swords' peak. Please spare my life, Prince Xinghui. I'm willing, I've already given you a chance." No, the sword intent in Xinghui's spiritual world circulated, and the Qingxian sword that had killed the two awakening realm elders instantly spun around. As Zhou Yi retreated in fear, the sword caught up with him as fast as lightning, piercing through his left temple and coming out from the right. The scream came to an abrupt end. After killing the three awakening realm powerhouses of the myriad swords' peak, Xinghui stepped forward and put the three divine weapons they each carried into his personal space. On Elder Yun Liao's body, Xinghui also found a defensive soft armor that was equivalent to upper-grade Stage 1. Unfortunately, the Qingxian sword had directly pierced through their heads, so this defensive soft armor was not put to use at all. After pausing for a moment in the corridor, Xinghui leaped out and went directly to the desolate periphery of the ancestral land. His powerful senses allowed him to quickly find the other disciples of the myriad swords' peak's ancestral land. With a move of his sword intent, he killed the 19 people in the ancestral land one by one. After doing this, Xinghui set up a few traps in the corridor and returned to the cave's stone pillar, waiting for the sword intent to brew in the stone pillar. He planned to wait until the sword intent had brewed to the limit before giving the stone pillar a thunderous blow, causing the sword intent in the stone pillar to erupt completely. Then, under the pressure of the sword intent, it would complete its transformation and awaken itself. 30 hours quickly passed. In these 30 hours, Xinghui's mental state had been adjusted to its peak. Seeing that the sword intent in the stone pillar had brewed to the limit again, his gaze immediately fell on the stone pillar. "Let me see what kind of bloodline talent I can awaken with my current sword intent." In the next moment, the power in Xinghui's body suddenly erupted. The Qingxian sword turned into a dazzling sword light and slashed fiercely at the mysterious stone pillar. The momentum of the attack seemed to be able to cut the huge stone pillar in half. Boom! The sharp sword chi exploded the moment it collided with the mysterious stone pillar, causing the stone pillar to shatter into pieces. However, other than the flying stone fragments, there was also a terrifying rebound force. Even with the Qingxian sword counteracting it, the rebound force from the mysterious stone pillar still made Xinghui's palm bleed. He could not help but take a few steps back. "It's starting." Qing Su sensed the sword intent from the mysterious stone pillar that seemed to have been infuriated. Afterwards, his essence, vitality, and spirit rose up at the same time, and the brilliant sword intent in his spiritual world shone like the sun, illuminating the surroundings. Rumble! The sword intent on the mysterious stone pillar erupted. Compared to before, the sword intent that erupted this time was like a landslide or a tsunami. It was like 100,000 volcanoes erupting at the same time. The raging, blazing, and destructive sword intent blasted into Xinghui's spiritual world with an unstoppable force and collided with the brilliant sword that had been tempered again. Even though Xinghui immediately activated his sword talent to the extreme and adjusted his mental state to the extreme, in the face of this raging, blazing, and destructive power, his sword intent could not help but collapse. The blazing sun was completely engulfed by the raging flames that could destroy the world. At the same time, Xinghui's mental state, and mental state were also engulfed and extinguished. His life aura fell to the extreme at this moment. The moment the brilliant sword intent condensed from essence, energy, and spirit in his mind was destroyed, Xinghui completely fell into a state of nirvana. Divine beast bloodline? Self-awakening. All kinds of distracting thoughts disappeared with the collapse of the sword intent. Sword essence. It referred to the immortal will that would never be extinguished. Not his own body, not his bloodline. Even if the divine beasts of the 9 heavens were as glorious as the sun, they couldn't make the chaos eternal. Only by cultivating one's heart, casting the human soul into the sword's soul, fusing the sword's soul with the divine soul, fusing the divine sword with the divine sword, fusing the will with the sword, fusing the mind 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 with the sword, fusing the rumble. The sword intent that was completely obliterated within the torrent of destruction suddenly transformed into a dazzling sword light that tore through the sky, shattered space, and shot into the sky. Sword intent. The collapsed consciousness was suddenly reborn at this moment and returned to his body. At the same time that this sword will transformed and was reborn from annihilation, there was a mysterious force in the blazing torrent of destruction. It was reborn from the flames, and it attracted the majestic, blazing, and violent sword will from all directions. The first cry of spreading its wings. Bang! In the spiritual world, as the mysterious force spread its wings and cried, everything in the world exploded. Not an explosion, but birth. Every corner of the spiritual world was filled with a dazzling, blazing light. It was like the first ray of light that brought life to the vast earth, allowing people to understand the meaning of light for the first time. And the source of all the light was the center of that dazzling, blazing power, a divine beast. A divine beast that symbolized the blazing sun. Golden Crow. Sun Golden Crow. At the same time that the Golden Crow spread its wings, the blazing light carried an endless source of life, illuminating Tsing Hui's body. If someone were to see Tsing Hui's appearance at this moment, they would be able to see that his entire body seemed to be dyed golden in front of the sun golden brilliance projected from the spiritual world. Rays of light constantly escaped from his body, completely illuminating the interior of the cave. Inside his body, all his cells, organs, bones, and blood had also turned into a golden color. They were sparkling and translucent, like gold, jade, and jade. This was a transformation. At the moment of awakening, the body was affected by the power of the divine beast bloodline and transformed from the inside out. It was because of this transformation that the strength of an awakening realm expert could far surpass that of a blood transformation realm expert. In the past, Tsing Hui could only rely on the majestic strength obtained from the third stage of physical body liberation to fight against an awakening realm expert. But at this moment, as his sword intent reached the large success stage and completed the transformation under the constant pressure of the mysterious stone pillar's majestic sword intent, he finally took the crucial step of self-awakening. With the brilliant, blazing sword intent from the Dongyang Sword Codex as the foundation, he attracted the power of the divine beast, Sun Golden Crow, awakened the Sun Golden Crow bloodline, stepped into the immortality realm, and soared to the sky. Chapter 61. Immortality Level 1. The Golden Crow shone brightly in the spiritual world. Even though the light only existed in the spiritual world, it affected Tsing Hui's body through the influence of the mysterious power, causing every cell, meridian, internal organ, and acupuncture point in his body to be illuminated by the golden light. Under the illumination of the golden light, he was like a large-scale solar reactor, constantly absorbing the energy emitted by the great Sun Golden Crow, subtly changing his body, causing him to become stronger at every moment. But at the core of the spiritual world, what was used to nurture the Golden Crow was not the scorching sun that he imagined, but a sword intent. A sword intent that was emitting a brilliant light. This sword intent nurtured the Golden Crow, allowing the Golden Crow to live while bathing in the brilliant light emitted by the sword intent. This strange phenomenon made Tsing Hui, who did not have a thorough understanding of self-awakening, unable to determine the reason behind it. If he could not figure it out, he would not think about it. In the following time, he used his time to stabilize his cultivation base in the awakening realm, using the brilliant light emitted by the golden crow to complete his transformation. While his body was transforming, Xinghui used the sword intent emitted by the mysterious stone pillar to sharpen his own sword intent. His sword intent had completed a transformation, and the most obvious feature was that his spiritual level had increased from level 34 to level 40. Now that his spiritual strength had reached level 40 and his sword intent had undergone a transformation, the pressure that the sword intent from the mysterious stone pillar exerted on him was greatly reduced. At best, it could only produce a decent tempering effect like the Great One Sword, and this tempering effect would gradually weaken as time passed and his spiritual strength increased. 10 days, 20 days, 30 days, 40 days. After a month and a half, the tempering effect of the sword intent that erupted from the mysterious stone pillar was getting weaker and weaker. In addition, the time for the deal with Sword Master Bai Heng was approaching, so he had no choice but to temporarily stop his cultivation. This round of cultivation, it's time to call it a day. Xinghui looked at the mysterious stone pillar and felt a little regretful. He could sense that the power of the sword intent contained within the mysterious stone pillar was not as simple as it seemed. However, as the azure firmament sword in his hand was only at the 3rd tier, he was unable to uncover the true appearance of the mysterious stone pillar. As a result, he could only leave this secret for now. Only when he obtained a more powerful weapon would he be able to uncover the true appearance of the mysterious stone pillar. It's time to go back. 1.5 months have passed since I came out. I hope that Zhou Gei will take the initiative to find Wu Yao and join her sect. Xinghui stood up and walked out of the cave. After exiting the cave, he found the mechanism and put down the dragon-breaking stone. In an instant, the many secrets in the cave were sealed by the dragon-breaking stone and completely buried. After doing all this, Xinghui left the desolate Cloud Mountain range and made a trip to the 10,000 Swords Mountain. After a month and a half, there were only a dozen people left in this declining sect. Moreover, Xinghui did not sense any awakening realm experts among these people. The highest cultivation was only at the blood-changing realm, and there were only 2 people in total. In this regard, he was too lazy to kill again. He quickly crossed the 10,000 Swords Mountain and rushed to the 100 Desolation City. While rushing to the 100 Desolation City, he also had time to operate the Primal Chaos Gate to check his own condition. His attack, defense, and speed had all increased to the 22nd level. 22nd level. Simply put, the direct effect of awakening the Golden Crow's bloodline was that all attributes except spirit increased by 10. 10th level attack, 10th level defense, and 10th level speed. Compared to before, this kind of increase was more than twice as strong. At this time, except for the fact that he had not yet reached the true realm and did not have the various transformation methods of a genuine Qi realm expert, he was not afraid of any genuine Qi realm expert. If he borrowed the advantage of the Green Cloud Sword and the Green Profound Sword, he could fight against an existence at the peak of the genuine Qi realm. The awakening of bloodline talents can be divided into Ferocious Beast, Spiritual Beast, Holy Beast, and Divine Beast. Among them, the awakening of Ferocious Beast is the most common awakening. Among the awakening realm experts outside the 10 Great Holy Lands, 60% of them awakened Ferocious Beast bloodline talents. Once this kind of awakening is awakened, the 3 values will probably reach around the 10th level. After that, the awakening of Spiritual Beast bloodline talents should be around the 12th to 14th level. The awakening of Holy Beast bloodline talents should be around the 16th to 18th level, and the awakening of Divine Beast bloodline talents, 20 to 22nd level. The kind of bloodline awakened was directly related to the strength of one's accumulation. Xinghui's body was at the 3rd stage of liberation, and he had broken the human body limit 3 times. His strength was not weaker than a Spiritual Beast bloodline awakener. Now that he had awakened the Divine Beast bloodline, the Golden Crow bloodline, he naturally awakened to the peak state, and the 3 values rushed to the 22nd level in one breath. Next, it's time to work on the second awakening method and the corresponding cultivation method. Xinghui frowned slightly. Cultivation method. take the genuine Qi realm, the second level of the longevity realm, as an example. Different methods of cultivation would produce different effects of genuine Qi. In terms of flame series incantations, some people's genuine Qi could condense into black flame true fire, some people could condense into samadhi true fire, and some could even condense into rosefinch true fire. This was the difference in the quality of genuine Qi. The divine beast bloodline only gave Tsing Hui an extremely high starting point. Just like how a ferocious beast bloodline cultivator wanted to cultivate black flame true Qi and condense samadhi true fire, it would take a lot of effort and resources. However, with the Golden Crow bloodline talent, as long as he cultivated a passable method, it would be easy for him to cultivate samadhi true fire. It would not be difficult for him to cultivate rosefinch true fire, and at the highest level, he could even cultivate solar golden flame to burn the sky and boil the sea. This was like the difference between the easy difficulty and the nightmare difficulty. Because of this, there were countless people who wanted to awaken holy beasts and divine beasts cultivation methods. The bloodline of the divine beast gave me an extremely high starting point. However, a fierce tiger that doesn't want to make progress can't defeat a lone wolf that has experienced hundreds of battles. Next, I will have to spend a lot of effort on the cultivation method. It's best if I can get a cultivation method that combines the void into the reality, the Qi into the gang, the divine Qi into the unity, the green darkness rampage, and the divine body into one. This kind of cultivation method is compatible with each other and achieves the goal in one step. There's no need to piece everything together. Tsing Hui made a decision in his heart. However, the cultivation method of the longevity realm was different from the awakening method. Even a supreme scripture-level awakening method would only cost 100 Taoist rhymes. However, the cultivation method of the immortal level was twice as expensive as the awakening method. If he wanted a scripture that included all 6 levels of the immortal level, at least 50 auto rhymes. This was the most common scripture. The cultivation method of an ordinary scripture might not be able to complement the Golden Crow's bloodline. If the Golden Crow fell from divine beast to holy beast because of his training, he would become a laughingstock in the world. I have to go one level at a time. The cultivation method of an ordinary scripture level requires 10 auto rhymes for each level. Be it in the eastern wilderness or the heavenly wilderness, many sects and forces monopolize the holy scriptures and divine scriptures to an unprecedented extent. Even though the sons of chaos could wander beyond the blockade of many sects and holy lands, they still valued the inheritance of the holy scriptures and divine scriptures very much. Many times, they would rather keep these cultivation methods in a high pavilion than let them spread to the outside world. However, it was because of this that many sects and holy lands could occupy the best resources to maintain their long-lasting rule. 10 auto rhymes? I hope Zhou Gi won't disappoint me. However, before that, I have to contact the people of Dawn and see if there is anyone else who wants to buy the cultivation method of the Fire Divine Beast bloodline. If we can buy it together, we can save a lot of auto rhymes. With this thought in mind, Tsing Hui sent a portion of his consciousness into the Chaos Temple as he hurried along. He then went to the personal space of Ling Yu, the leader of Dawn. Pakui? I haven't seen you in a while. I've sent you the rendezvous point. The initial rendezvous point is the Cloud Pond in the Yunhuang mountain range. If there are any changes, the rendezvous point may change again. You have to be careful. Ling Yu greeted Tsing Hui when she saw him. I understand. Tsing Hui nodded. It was because he knew that the rendezvous point was within the Hunyuan Heaven Sect's territory that he could patiently stay in seclusion for a month and a half in the ancestral land of the 10,000 Swords Mountain. If the rendezvous point was within the territory of the Qinghuan Holy Land or the Creation Mystical Sect, he would have left on the flying boat half a month earlier. Apart from the White Tiger bloodline cultivation method, are there any Vermilion Bird or Fire Elemental cultivation methods? Oh, you need Vermilion Bird or Fire Elemental cultivation methods? Ling Yu's gaze fell on Tsing Hui. I want to understand the situation, but I don't have enough auto rhymes to complete the transaction. Is that so? Do you have any requirements for these cultivation methods? I remember that Xing Yao has a Vermilion Bird Flame technique, and it's a complete set of techniques for the 6 realms of longevity. Although it's not a direct inheritance, but an oral teaching, the price is much cheaper, and its grade has reached the level of a first-class saint technique. Oral cultivation method. First-rate saint technique. Oral cultivation method was a second-rate cultivation method. No one knew if the other party would leave any hidden tricks in the cultivation method. Moreover, if he cultivated a first-rate saint technique, he would definitely destroy the great sun golden crow. I want a divine codex. Divine codex? Ling Yu's eyes flashed. It seems that Her Excellency Pak Hui's ambition is not small. It's either not doing it or not doing it. Naturally, I have to do my best. I'll help you contact them. Dawn has quite a few organizations that we're on good terms with, and some of them are quite trustworthy. Sometimes, they'll cooperate with us when they need to raise funds to trade for top-tier techniques. This time, we can go and find them. Wait for my reply in 3 days. Thank you. It's nothing. Xing Hui nodded and left Ling Yu's personal space. Seeing Xing Hui leave, Ling Yu could not help but mutter to herself, an awakened divine beast bloodline. It's not easy to awaken such a bloodline. Are you the young faction leader of some holy land, the saint? Or, did you awaken on your own? You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.